Oh, hi everyone, and welcome to the next stream in Bree's 24-hour stream, the 28-hour stream, a triple bit of trouble. And I've just realised that I haven't reset the stream or done the title or anything, so I'll do that. But why don't we go around and say hello to everyone? Hey, Virginia, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing all right, thank you. It's really early over here for me anyway. It's like 9:30 on a Sunday morning, but it's really awesome to be here and, you know, helping out raise money for a great reason. There's also a bunch of really awesome people in chat, so hello.
Yes.
But yeah, this is going to be fun. I like Tribbles and Star Trek and crazy 60s wacky Trek, so this is what's going to happen today.
I'm thoroughly looking forward to it. Why don't we go around clockwise and go next to one of our DMs for the season, Holly Sageophilia. Oh, hi!
Oh, hi. I am Holly, as was previously stated. It is also early where I am. It is after 4:30 in the morning. I'm super excited to be here. I'm super excited to support the cause, and I am really excited about all these people in chat. Like you said before, I've been watching it. You guys are awesome. And sorry if my cat comes on screen like 8 times, but she is wondering why I'm not in bed cuddling her.
Stick around. I'll be able to teach you a few things.
Fantastic, thank you. Next around, we have another DM for the season. Oh, hi, Smallish Sam.
Oh, hi, I'm Smaller Sam. Are we saying who we're playing? I wasn't paying attention. I apologize.
I wasn't awake to remember.
Oh, okay, cool. I'm just gonna say I'm playing Roger, the great human. Oh gosh, it's early here. The flight controller. We'll see how well I do. I'm not nervous at all.
You're doing just great, just great. Hi, I'm me. We'll skip over me and go straight to Shakespeare. Oh, hi, Shakespeare. Second season of playing with us as well.
Yes, second season, I'm back because I love it here. Hi, I'm Shakespeare, also known as Shakes. I'm so excited to be here. You can tell because I'm wearing makeup. For the first time on a stream, effort was made. My eyes feel really sticky. I am so happy to be here supporting an absolutely amazing cause. The chat has been incredible. I watched a bit at the end of the last stream, which was so fun. And I am playing Nefreyu Din, who is a very old, very, very gentle Trill, who basically treats all the crew like her children. Grandchildren. Irritating grandchildren.
There are a lot of revisions there. And
yeah.
next around, another player for this season, Wild Engineer. Oh, hi, Wild.
Hi, yeah, I'm a Wild Engineer. I'll be playing Guy Expendable. He's the chief of security, and I'm super excited to be the red shirt of the team.
So, yeah, and I suppose coming back to me, let's go through the things. So we have opening links. You guys should check all these out. They are things mostly to do with us, so we'll wait for the bot to spam all those at you. They are interesting. Go and check them out. Big thank you to Mage Hand Press and Bird in the Storm Publishing, who make this all possible. But once it's finished spamming you with that information, we'll start telling you about the GoFundMe. Today, we are raising money because at the end of February, Bree reached out to the community to say that she was going to have to sell her streaming equipment and stop streaming because her medical bills and housing bills were so high. And, you know, her and her partner have been through a whole lot of trouble recently. They haven't been able to catch a break, so this is it. This is their break. We're giving them a break. Basically, we're just building them a buffer to help them carry on and come and play Eden with us this season and not sell their streaming gear. So it looks like the bot's finished. So there is the GoFundMe link, and here are the donations. Anyone who donates more than £15 and makes themselves known will get 50% discount on your entire basket at the Mage Hand Press website. So as long as you make yourself known in the GoFundMe, I'll DM you across with the code, and you're away. As for me, you'll all be pleased to know that I'm making sure I get plenty of sleep, and we'll be having a wonderful stream. We're 12 hours in. What are we in? 1, 2, 3, 6, 16 hours in. We're good. Let's hand over to you, Virginia. I'm excited. Oh yeah, I'm not playing the person that it says I'm playing. I'm playing. I remember because their name sounds like Kaiser Soze. It's
Cayman?
Cayman Sozen. Thank you. Engineer, also. I'm not wearing the right colours or the right uniform.
I'm not wearing a uniform at all, so
It's all good. I'm sure we can look over the uniform regulations being broken for one.
I'm a
One
medical
episode?
officer. This just seemed more,
If in your professional opinion as the chief medical officer, this is what's going on.
no sleeves. Can't get any sleeves in the guts. That's important.
No sleeves in the guts, medical rule number 1.
Yeah. It's like rookie stuff they teach you.
Okay, so we'll start off with the captain's log that I have for you, because nobody played the captain, so. We have been alerted to a crisis on the small colony planet of Delta Vega 6. There's a group of Federation colonists there who share the almost completely barren planet with a group of Xenelian colonists. From their reports, something is destroying their food source, which could force them off-world if we can't improve the situation. This planet is of significant interest to the Federation and for diplomatic relations with the Xenelians. Keeping that diplomatic relationship in place and intact is high priority. We have set a course for the planet and should arrive in 2.3 hours. So you are all aboard the USS Fusion. You are currently en route to Delta Vega 6. The only information that you have received so far is that there is an issue with the food source for the Federation colony on the planet, and that you're basically being called in to aid them. So where is everyone? What is everyone doing?
I'm probably sat on the bridge. Nothing.
I'm probably in the medicine corner, the medical unit, closet, whatever, however big it is, the operating area. Making
So
sure that
for reference, you guys are all on a Constitution class vessel. So TOS, that's basically the Enterprise,
Okay.
the equivalent of. So
I'll just be watching over if there's anyone in there. I'll be, making my rounds. And if there's not,
you probably got a couple of people in there, minor ailments and injuries. There's probably one guy who at least has kind of had to deal with a console kind of blowing up in whatever conflict you last had. But so far, that information is all that you know about the planet. Is there anything anyone wants to do before you arrive? All good?
do we have any information that we can access in our databases?
There probably is, yeah. Let me grab this up. So you should all be able to see in your little journal bits the handout for the USS Fusion. So I'm going to get... Who wants to look for the information? Who's doing that?
I'll have a look for some... Oh, no, they're gone.
Okay, so if you go onto your character sheet and if you want to... Let me bring this up here. If you want to roll for me reason and let's go with con. So if you click on reason, then click on con, there should be a thing to the far right that says task roll. As long as it's got 2 highlighted, you should just be able to click that and it should come up in chat.
I don't see the task roll.
It should be on the right next to the attributes. It's got dice roller is the heading.
Ah,
So if you select,
so just hit this.
yeah, so it should roll as long as you've selected those 2 attributes.
Yeah.
Awesome. So you've got 2 successes there and a critical failure as well. So
Perfectly balanced.
So the way that everything works in Trek is that you select an attribute and you select a discipline whenever you roll for anything, and I'll ask you for some of them, but you can argue for whichever ones you like. And then you roll, it essentially rolls 2d20. You can buy extra dice with something called momentum that you earn when you get more successes than you need. You can also use that to do cool, awesome stuff, buy extra damage dice in combat, ask me questions about a situation, or just influence the story, in fun ways. So this would have been a difficulty 0 test because you can absolutely easily access the systems on your ship. So you've got 2 successes, so that gives you 2 points of momentum, which I will type into chat. So it's a shared pool and anyone can access it as much as they like. I am going to save that complication, so nothing bad is going to happen now. But I get a form of momentum that's called threat, which I am slowly stacking up, which I can use to kind of make weird stuff happen or help my NPCs out. So yeah, you can bring up the database entry on Delta Vegas 6. Is there anything in particular that you're looking for?
The natural biology of the planet in terms of like if there's plant life or like crystal structures that would be food source, like whatever it is, the biology of whatever the primary food source is.
Okay.
Or botany of it.
The planet itself is completely barren. It has no natural living life forms. Part of the reason that the Federation set up a small colony there, and you can see this in your logs, it's only a colony of about 10 to 12 people or so, was because they were interested in what actually caused the planet to become this kind of almost barren wasteland. The colonists have managed to cultivate some of the land in order to produce food to keep them going. But otherwise, there are no indigenous life forms, nothing that lives there, at least not now anyway.
Could I research if there's any possible threats, either from inside or outside, like either other aliens that might come, visit the planet, things like that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, if you want to, you can spend a point of that momentum to ask me that question, and I can answer it because you've already got into the system database.
All right.
So I'll bring that down to 1 momentum. In terms of threats, there has been no hostility on the planet in terms of the Federation showing up. As far as anyone knows, it's a barren wasteland, so there's no political disputes over the planet. It doesn't appear to have any resources. There is a tenuous relationship with the Xenelians, who have also had a colony on the planet that's supposed to be there for archaeological research. But in terms of actual threat, there is none. It's just the Xenelians are not part of the Federation, so there's careful kind of diplomacy going on around them in order to keep them on side, as the planet is technically within their sphere of influence.
Okay.
Anything else that anyone would like to know or do?
I think Keeman is a scientist first and a team member second, so whilst everyone else he's hoping to find some sort of new composite material that will help him develop his theory about pushing plasma energy through a warp field to create a new warp field plasma engine. He might be crazy, but it might just work.
I mean, this is 60s Trek, so anything could happen.
I mean, you can be crazy and it can work.
Why not both?
So, you arrive in standard orbit around Delta Vegas 6. You were called to the bridge, where the captain explains that he wants to run some preliminary checks, but once that is done, you will be sent down to figure out what the situation on the ground is. Apparently a transmission has come through and it has asked that you only come by shuttle. They don't have a safe place for you to transport down. So you will have to take one of the runabouts and fly your way down to the planet's surface. But he advises that you take any kind of preliminary checks or precautions that you wish to before you leave.
Are we allowed to bring anything that we want down with us?
Pretty much. If as long as it's reasonable, then absolutely.
Giant bag full of medical supplies.
Oh yeah, you can absolutely bring one of those. They've got like very like old-fashioned toolbox like looking things in POS. So you stock one of those up with everything you think you might need.
Is everyone issued a phaser, or do I need to issue them out?
Everyone, if you wish to issue everybody phasers, I think everyone has phasers on them or as part of their equipment, so you can go around and issue those out as chief of security.
Do we know if the shuttles, like, are they all in working order right now, as far as we know? Like,
yeah,
they're all completely fine?
All completely fine.
Okay. I don't trust you, but okay.
Yeah, all of the shuttles are in working order. The engineering department is kept on top of that. I imagine probably at your request, making sure that all of your runabouts are nice and ready to go. Does anyone want to do anything on the bridge? Pull up any more information before you fly down to the planet?
But
Bree
also,
just like packs up like a similar, smaller medical bag that also has like the knitting she's been doing just tucked in it, like, but also medical supplies.
I like the idea. It's just kind of this mix of like hypo sprays and bottles, and then just some knitting needles.
It's very like neatly arranged, but then there's like a little just tail of wool sticking out the back, just like nothing to see here.
are there provisions on board our shuttle?
You can bring some with you if you want to.
Yes.
So you bring some food and hydration provisions with you as well, along with all of your medical gear. You will meet up in the shuttle bay and board the small little runabout shuttle that you have. If anyone's seen like the Galileo 7 from TOS, it looks like that. Really kind of boxy looking thing. And now it's time to take the shuttle out. So it'll be over to our flight controller.
Oh no. Oh no. Okay.
So the first thing you're going to have to do is bring the shuttle out of its docking.
Okay.
And clear of the USS Fusion.
This is gonna be like, if any of you have been to Disneyland and been on the Star Tour, sorry to go to the other Star one, but like when they go out, that's definitely what this is, where it's just like, don't actually go out. Anyway, sorry. You need me to roll something?
I do. So you are our flight controller. So it might be worth having a look at your talents and seeing if you've got anything in there that helps you with controlling ships or shuttles.
Oh my gosh.
And then you're going to be rolling a control plus con test for me.
Okay. There we go. So, oh no, where are my talents?
So your talents are just below where it's got determination, threat, and momentum, and you can drag that box to make it bigger.
Oh, okay, perfect. I do have technical expertise, so I don't know. Would this be something where I'd have a task assisted by computers and or sensors from the ship?
Let me have a look. Sorry, just bringing up the character sheet now.
Well, as you're doing that, we just got our first $20 donation in, which means I need to do the Bean Boozled challenge. Is anyone else doing the Bean Boozled challenge with me this stream?
Yeah, I'm doing it with you.
You're doing it with me? I just did a whole bunch in the last stream. Do you fancy taking the hit on the first one, Wild?
Sure.
That'd be amazing. We can alternate. That'd be cool.
Stinky socks or Tutti Frutti? Hey, I got fruit.
Yeah.
You must be the luckiest person alive. I swear I've had nothing but bad. I won't shout out who did the donation. I've got their real name, but I don't want to shout that out. If you're in chat and you want to whisper me, I will send you the 50% discount code and all the rest of the things. Just tell me the real name that's in GoFundMe and I'll tell you what the things are. Sorry, interrupting. Stopped.
No, that's fine. Whoever that was that donated, thank you very much. I don't know if technical expertise would count, but you do have cautious con. So whenever you attempt a task that uses con and you buy a d20, spending momentum, you can re-roll one of the d20s in that pool if you don't like its result.
Yeah.
So you could use that.
I don't, because this is a pooled momentum, right?
Yeah, so everyone can spend from it.
Yeah, I feel like I don't want to take away because I roll really poorly and I re-roll really poorly, and so I don't want to be the person that like spends it all on their poor re-rolls.
I'm just saying, in terms of things we probably want to invest in, not exploding the ship is probably good. So, like, I don't mind if you take the momentum.
I'm very happy for you to take the momentum, because surely otherwise there's a chance we all die, right? That seems important.
I mean, but then, like, it'd be a great story, right? Great ending.
Then we could just talk about our feelings for 3 hours.
Okay. I'll spend a momentum.
Okay.
So
Momentous.
So your first extra dice that you buy costs 1 momentum, and then they go up after that. So the next one is 2, and then the third one is 3. So if on your task roll, where you've got the little dice roller on the character sheet, if you just click 3 on the task roll instead of 2.
Okay.
And then hit the little Starfleet Delta symbol, and we'll see what you get.
Do I need to highlight the ones that? I'm sorry. You're gonna have to. What are the ones that I'm doing? I'm doing
Control and con.
Oh, okay, there we go. And then the Starfleet symbol.
Yeah. Okay, so that is 1 success and a complication, but you have that talent that lets you re-roll because you're using con. So so you can re-roll one of those results, and I'm assuming it's going to be the complication, the one that's highlighted in the red. Yeah. So if you just go back onto task roll and just click 1 and re-roll, we'll see what you get.
Oh.
Nothing. That's fine. It's only a difficulty 1 test. You are the flight controller. You do know how to do a shuttle. So you bring it out. There's nothing massively spectacular about the exit. It's a little bit bumpy, but you manage to bring it out and clear of the USS Fusion and begin heading down towards the planet. And what you see as you come in through the atmosphere, which is very, very thin, you can see that stretched out before you are just swathes of very, very dry, kind of blackened landscape. There isn't much here. You don't see any vegetation growth, any forests, none of the kind of lush, vibrant life that you're used to seeing on some of the worlds that you visited previously.
Does this jive with the database's description?
Pretty much, yeah, that there isn't really any life on this planet, at least not anymore. As you begin to bring the shuttle down and around even closer, you do start to see, as you get to kind of nearing towards the ground, the outpost, the colony outpost. And it's a little kind of, as I always imagine them, like slightly spherical buildings with these kind of corridor umbilicals that come off. It's not very big. It maybe has 6 or 7 different areas. And what you can see are slightly behind that, the large chunk of area that they've managed to turn into a field of some kind, where there are some crops growing. And you can see it almost looks like corn and wheat, the kind of staple foods that you might have. And it looks very odd because the rest of this landscape is devoid of vegetation completely. Slightly further off in the distance, you can just make out another one of these kind of globed buildings that's further off down the way. But this is where you know to be the Federation colony to be at. So the last thing you have to do is to bring the shuttle down.
Can we see the archaeological site from here? Is it close to the
It's not massively close to where the actual colony building is, but off in the distance you can see what looks to be a kind of man-made structure that you imagine is some of the foundation work and stuff that they've put in place in order to be able to dig or excavate, depending on what they're doing. So who is going? Are you going to bring the shuttle down to a nice gentle rest and land it on the surface of the planet?
Just
Yeah.
subtly checks that everyone's strapped in, everyone's got their seatbelts on.
Especially after that takeoff.
Just sort of sitting there and then
Just like
I-
goes around and checks everyone's actually belted up properly and then sits down. Yeah.
Kind of like you do with like kids on school coach trips, where you go around, you tug on the seatbelt, you make sure it's all locked in.
Exactly like that, actually.
I'm so tempted for Keeman not to be in their seat.
You can do that if you like.
I can't think of anything good to be doing, so I won't. But
You would just get like prodded back into your seat and she'd do up the strap.
And you could see Roger's like visibly like drenched in sweat. He is the most nervous person.
no, I know what Keeman's
Right.
doing. Sorry, carry on.
No, that's okay. I was done with my description.
Oh, I'm sorry. It came to me, and I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm really sorry. He's sitting there with his hand over the buckle, which isn't done up, and he's explaining to whoever is sitting next to him all of the engineering faults that happen with these shuttles on the way down, and the average amount of faults you get, and how likely it is for the shuttle to actually crash and the stabilizers to fail, and all the rest of it. Like,
And
Oh, yeah.
Nefreyu just walks over and like swats his hand out of the way so that she can test his buckle, and then just kind of looks at him and then does up his buckle. Like,
2% of the time they fail anyway.
So when you get the all clear, that everyone's strapped in, everyone's buckled up, everyone's ready, you can begin procedures to land.
Okay. I'm assuming, is it the same?
Yeah, it's going to be the same roll, so it's going to be control and con.
And then I'll put it back up to 2.
Yeah,
Right.
it's only a difficulty 1 test. You've only got to get 1 success.
Oh, okay. So do I still? Yeah, I still have this on a 2 for the roll, right?
Yeah, if you want to buy some extra dice, you can. So anything that you can pay for with momentum, whether that's asking me questions, extra dice, influencing the scene, you can also pay me in threat. Threat is not a bad thing. It's what I use to kind of ramp up tension and make crazy stuff happen. So
I think I'm already tense enough. And plus, as we saw, I don't reroll well. Like, this just isn't a thing I do very well. Oh no.
okay, so that is 1 success and a complication. So you do manage to land the shuttle. You warn everyone that they better be buckled up. And as far as you know, everyone is. You land the shuttle fairly well. As you bring it down, you don't quite account for how uneven the ground is. So you kind of put it down and then it kind of lurches to one side. And I'm just going to roll a d6 here and see what happens. Here we go. Keeman, as you're sitting in your seat and it lands and you're explaining who's sitting next to you. Who was sitting next to Keeman in the shuttle?
I'll be sitting next to him. I know he's a problem. Like hand halfway in the giant medical case, like
Just waiting. As Keeman is explaining to you now how likely it is that actually something would fail or it'd actually crash, just as you go to start talking about the kind of crash landings and how rare it is that, you know, anything goes wrong once you've actually touched down, the whole shuttle lurches to one side. And I have a question. Does Keeman undo his seatbelt after it's been done up?
I don't think that he would. But he might do in response to this lurch to try and figure out what's causing the ship to lurch if it seems like a mechanical failure.
It doesn't. It seems like you've touched down and then on uneven ground it's kind of gone.
Oh, no, he would have left his seatbelt on. He's too lazy to
Okay.
undo it.
What you do get though is anyone who's bought kind of bags of stuff with them and the provisions that you stocked up begin to kind of tumble like down to the side, across all underneath the seats. A couple of bottles from the medical kit smash.
I have no bottles in mine. I don't want to get anything on my knitting, so it's all
it's on me.
no bottles.
Nothing major has happened, but it's a bit of an inconvenience. You're going to have to spend some time kind of picking everything up. But otherwise, the shuttle is absolutely fine. It's just you've landed on some kind of uneven ground.
Are there like, well, if it's a small enough shuttle, I guess, like, as soon as it lurches, he's just like, sorry everybody, don't do this very often, sorry. And then that's it. Also, I don't think you took off the momentum that I spent earlier.
I will do that then. That's where we're at now. So you have arrived planet side. Mostly everything intact, save for a few bottles, a couple of hypo sprays.
The anxiety medicine I was going to give Roger when we took back off.
Just checking that I haven't dropped a stitch.
I want to know, who is the most senior officer here?
Senior in terms of senior citizen?
Hey! Rude.
Because somebody has to kind of lead.
I
This
wouldn't, as
is
a
the way to-
security officer, I wouldn't mind leading.
I'm a commander.
I'm a
I don't know
lieutenant
what-
commander.
I don't know what the rank works.
So captain, commander or XO, lieutenant commander, lieutenant junior grade.
Oh no.
So I think it's...
I'm chief engineer.
I believe there's a rank, not your
Yeah, on the
assignment.
rank.
Oh, senior chief specialist.
Senior chief specialist. So, what rank is Guy?
He's just a junior grade lieutenant.
Junior grade lieutenant.
Aww.
Oh no.
We'll say then, for the purposes of this, that you have been put in charge until you find out what it is that's happening. So the captain can probably shift around who is in charge. But for now, your priority is the safety of your away team and the safety of the Federation colonists here.
Right.
So who is first out of the shuttle door?
I would definitely be out first.
Okay, you lift open the door and it kind of swings upwards and out. The first thing you notice is it's very warm here. It's a very, very kind of dry heat. And you step out and the land beneath your feet is kind of blackened and cracked. It's like hard soil. You can see why nothing grows here. Because it's compacted. You can feel it crunch beneath your boots as you step out of the shuttle. And you're maybe a 10-minute walk or so from the facility where you're aiming to get to. You can see it just off in the distance.
Does the ground at least seem stable for the shuttle to stay there?
It seems stable enough. You can actually see what it is. It's this kind of a ridge that's landed. It's not too high, but the shuttle sat partly on it and slipped. So you probably shouldn't have a problem taking off again in it. It's just an inconvenient bit of land, and you can kind of see that there are these natural rises and falls, not so much hills, but it looks like just chunks of the landscape have either sunk or have been compacted. It's very uneven, very rocky, and very dry.
Just gotta look back and I'm like, okay, just a bit of uneven ground. Everything seems to be safe out here. I'll proceed.
Freyu just steps down, looks around and goes, lovely. It's like, this is nice.
It's very, as the shuttle door is now opened, you all begin to feel this heat. It's very, very dry heat that's just slowly getting to you as you're in your uniforms, which were probably not built for comfort, oddly enough, because they were made of velour.
There's a lot of tugging going on.
A lot of tugging going on.
Keeman will be quite excited. Arid, compacted ground, diamond structures perhaps. Tricordering random bits of the ground.
Yeah, if you want to. What are you looking for? You're just getting a kind of composition of...
Yeah, let's see if there's anything rare in the makeup of this planet.
Okay, so you should have a tricorder as part of your equipment. What do you want to roll for this? I'll let you choose. It'll probably...
like reason and science or engineering?
I'll let you go for reason science.
Reason science, cool.
Do you have a focus that applies at all? So focuses basically mean you can get extra successes if you have one that applies to a test that you make. So for example, if you had one that was if you're looking at chemical composition, if you had a focus in chemistry, for example, you could apply that. Anything that rolls under your discipline nets you 2 successes instead of 1.
I haven't got anything to do with geology, really. I've got computers which you could possibly use with the tricorder, but I don't think so.
Probably not for this.
So no. However, if it comes to mining, I've got an invention that we'll discuss later.
Oh, okay.
So just be a straight roll and no focus.
Straight roll, then no focus. Did you want to buy any dice before you roll?
No,
It's difficulty 1, but
I won't buy any dice. This is just Trill doing a trivial check. He's not doing anything for the good of anyone. Did it roll? It did roll. There you go.
So if you click where task roll is, as long as it's got 2 selected, you can just hit the Starfleet Delta and it should roll.
Yep.
2.
I think it did.
2 1s.
2 1s. Okay. So it's 2 successes, so you do gain a point of momentum because it's difficulty 1, so that's banked for the group. You begin scanning with the tricorder, and the first things you start to pick up is, the general soil composition. It is not rich in minerals at all, which explains again why nothing grows here. The soil is bad. You do pick up crystalline structures in the soil that are reminiscent of things like diamond. There is lots of carbon in the soil as well. So you are right, there could be diamond crystalline structures here of some kind. It seems that between the compaction, perhaps a large amount of heat, either beneath the planet or in the planet's history at some point, is part of the reason that the ground has formed the way that it has.
I'll keep this information largely to myself. If it becomes important later, I might reveal it. I've got a bit of... I'll let you all know early on. I've got a lot of hero syndrome, so you probably might be used to Keeman keeping information to himself until it looks like it's saving the day, and you're like, well, if you just told us that in the first place, that sort of thing.
It's like one of those moments where I just look across at Rolster and just the eyebrows go up in this sympathetic why.
If I scan any of the rises, would I notice any caves or valleys where errant lizardmen would be hiding or things like that?
If you go ahead and make a roll for the tricorder, then you can go with reason and science.
Oh wait, no. How do I? Oh.
So if you click on the attribute and the discipline, it should highlight them.
Okay, reason and science. There we go.
2 successes. Okay, so you've got 2 points of momentum in the bank now because that's difficulty 1. You don't get anything nearby. Lots of the rises in your general vicinity are kind of low ground rises that probably don't differ much between kind of the height of the ground that it is now and kind of coming up to around your shoulder. They tend to be quite harsh, but they don't seem to last. Further out, you can spot some mountainous areas, but your tricorder does not reach that far. But right now, it's kind of very, very open ground. You can see all the way to the horizon in the direction that you're looking to for this facility.
How close are we to the farm areas?
Probably about a 10-minute walk. They're behind the kind of the globed kind of colony site.
All right, should we head over to the colony then?
I think that would be best.
Okay, so you make your way over to the colony. It is a tiresome walk. It's only about 10 minutes, which for healthy, fit Starfleet officers shouldn't be a problem. But the dry heat, coupled with the velour of your uniforms, makes it an unpleasant walk. And by the time you're you're closing in on it, you can see a few people are now coming out of what looks to be a large airlocked door. They come out. You know, everything's got swoosh doors in the 60s, right? And you can see a few people in the kind of greyish green overalls that you've spotted on other Federation small site colonies. And someone is coming to greet you. You can see this person walking up ahead as they begin to get closer and closer. Does anyone want to go ahead and walk ahead to greet this person, or are you going to wait for them to get to you?
I'd probably walk ahead. You know, hands stuck out optimistically, like, hello.
Yeah, so I was just saying the opposite. I go behind everybody.
And I'm not too far behind.
So, I'm so sorry, Shax. I cannot pronounce your character's name, and I'm really bad at it. Could you?
Nefreyu.
Okay. So you step up, and there's a gentleman that greets you with very short, cropped hair. These overalls done up to about here. You can just see the whites of a t-shirt underneath, as he takes note of the Starfleet emblem, and puts his hand out to shake yours. Shakes it, very nice firm grip, and says, "Thank God you're here. We've been calling for aid for days."
When I shake his hand, my firm is also gripped and slightly uncomfortable because I have prosthetic hands that are like Luke Skywalker's hand before the skin goes on, kind of Johnny Five-ish. So it's slightly too firm because it's metal.
You see him, there's like a little bit of a wince, but otherwise he doesn't seem to be bothered by your handshake. He looks, you can see there are like circles under his eyes. Although he looks healthy, I say healthy, his skin is slightly sallowed. He looks weary and tired, but other than that, fairly healthy. He's not struggling to walk, breathe, which when you hear reports of kind of food sources becoming depleted, these are the kind of things that you're used to walking into, people who are quite ill, quite frail. This doesn't seem to be the case at the moment, though. But he turns to look at the rest of the away team and says, please, there's a lot we need to discuss. So much has happened. We've been calling for aid for weeks. But, you know, subspace signals, the distance.
Well, let's waste no more time. Lead the way.
Okay, so he waits for everyone else to kind of catch up and begins to walk you back towards the colony base.
Did he give a name?
Quick one. Thank you so much.
He did, sorry. He introduced himself as Robert Thompson, and he is currently in charge of the base.
Human?
Yeah.
Just a quick one, but thank you so much to Mira Sharados, who comes in with a 4,000 bit donation, which is like $40. Thank you so much. Bits, I will be sending bits to Bree after the stream, but they will get taxed twice, as they'll have to go through my bank account and then hers. If you would like to donate directly, the GoFundMe or a direct donation are the best ways to help out the charity, the fundraiser. But we appreciate everything that you guys do. Thank you so much, and that would probably be a bean for both of us in the middle of my dinner as well.
Oh.
Let's see, dishwasher or birthday cake?
Booger or juicy pear? Oh.
Birthday cake.
Oh.
See, I'm starting to think that this whole thing is just a glass half full, half empty thing. If you're of a pessimistic disposition, they all taste bad. I'm not sure.
To be fair, juicy pear, booger, I don't really see much difference in those tastes. Not a pear fan.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure which one that was, to be honest.
I'm just afraid I'm using up all my red shirt luck on beans.
That's okay, because you got 2 medics, so it's all right.
I can cure you of bean poison, probably.
There's probably a hypo spray for that.
Yeah.
And I can counsel you through it.
Yeah. Some anti-bean therapy.
Yeah. Show me on the diagram where the bean touched you.
Tell me.
So yes, this gentleman introduces himself as Robert Thompson, and and you walk back towards the base, and you can see now the field that kind of stretches behind it. Where it looked from above and from a distance, mostly kind of wheat crops, and it looked, like it was growing. You can see now that actually that was a very nice top-down view, but the reality of it is from the ground, you can see whole sections of this field have been decimated. The crops you can see where they would have been growing, and they've been cut short. You can see areas of the field that looks like they are slowly being reclaimed by the barren soil around it. It does not look in good shape.
Do they look like wilty, or like someone's been like thinning the herd?
A bit of both, really. You can see some of the crops, especially on the edges, are failing, but whether or not that's due to whatever issue they're having, or that's just the soil's not as great, you'd need closer inspection. But he brings you to the main doors, these kind of large metal swoosh doors, and you see him, he kind of puts a pass card on, and the doors open, and you step through into what looks like some kind of airlock. So the doors behind you close, and then the doors in front open. It's a lot nicer in here. That horrible dry heat has gone. It's a lot cooler in this facility, and there's just a long corridor that stretches ahead of you. And he takes you forward and then off into a door on the left-hand side, which appears to be some kind of office or meeting space. And he brings you in and says, please sit down, and I can fill you in on the situation.
Is there a chance that we could go out and look at those crops as soon as we're done? I'd like to examine them more closely, please.
Absolutely, that's what I was hoping that you would say. And you hear something from the back of this room as you all begin to take seats. There's a weird kind of brilling, purring noise. And you see, as soon as this happens, he notices it and just, another one. There's another one. Where do they keep coming from?
Another what exactly?
He just kind of points in the general direction of the back of the room. And you notice among some of there's like paper stacked up here. There's a few boxes containing who knows what. But kind of wedged between these two stacks of papers and a couple of pads is this small furry thing. But just every now and then lets out a little bit of a...
Can I go pick it up? I want to pick it up.
You get up, you walk over, and you pick it up, and as soon as you've made contact with it, it just starts to purr. This ball of fur just purrs and kind of slightly shakes in your hand.
Well, that's adorably unsettling.
The longer that you hold it, and as you start to kind of, not so much pet it, but kind of gently prod at it, you just start to feel very calm, very pleasantly pleased with just everything. It's just everything is, this is adorable, and you find yourself beginning to kind of stroke it.
Would I be able to tell that this is this is coming from? Would I be able to put the two things together of I've just picked this up and now I feel drugged?
Absolutely. It's not so much that you feel drugged. It's just very, very nice. And as you kind of turn around, holding this little literally a furry ball, you can't see any eyes. There isn't a mouth that you can find anywhere within this ball of fur. You assume it probably has one, and it appears to be alive. And Roger looks over and says, yes, those. We thought we'd cleared most of them out of some parts of the base, but it seems that they just keep multiplying.
I thought there were no indigenous life forms to this planet.
That's a thing, there aren't. I don't know how these got here. We didn't bring any with us.
Have you had any contact from anyone?
Apart from a Starfleet vessel that passed through a few months back, no. I mean, we have introduced some small life forms to the planet, mostly insects to help with the crops, keep them pollinated. And then about a week ago, 2 weeks ago, I mean, who knows how long they've been here, but we only really started noticing problems about a week ago.
Problems?
Grain stores that we had, everything gone, and in its place we found, well, those things. And he points at the little ball of fluff you're holding in your hand.
Have the Xenalians encountered these? Do you have any contact with them?
We have some limited contact with the Xenalians. We keep on peaceful terms. We've shared equipment and so forth. We haven't sent anyone over there since we discovered these in case, it affects their crops too. We've heard reports that they have seen some of these creatures, but we haven't had contact with them in maybe 2 or 3 days, which is fairly normal. We don't interact all that much.
So they can survive the trek between the two civilizations, then?
Apparently, I don't know how they don't have legs that any of us can find. I mean, I'm not even sure what it is. We don't have access to quite so large a database here.
I'm gonna get out my tricorder and can I do a scan?
You can. Make me a... what would you like to roll for the tricorder? Because you could use science or medicine if you like.
Medicine.
Use medicine, so probably control and medicine then. And do you have any focuses that might apply?
I have a focus in xenobiology.
That will absolutely apply. So basically, if you roll under your medicine disciplines, if one of your dice is a 5 or under, that is an extra success. So if you just click yes on focus used in the dice roller.
Okay.
This is going to be difficulty 1.
So that's complication range, I think.
So the task roll should already be set to 2.
Yeah.
At the very top, there's focus use. As long as that's got yes highlighted, that will account for your focus.
Alrighty. Oh, okay. I got a 0 and a 1.
Got a 0 and a 1. Okay, so that's one
and the 0 is
complication.
a fail.
Yeah, so when it comes up red, that means you've basically rolled a 20, which in 2d20 is a natural, like critical fail. So it's like the opposite of D&D.
Yeah.
You begin to scan, and it takes a while because you've got to run stuff back up to the ship's database, and but you do manage to identify the life form. It is a Tribble.
It's a Tribble.
The other thing that you notice about the life form, because I imagine that you would have a kind of medical tricorder, the Tribble is pregnant.
Oh joy. And it's expecting.
I don't think we want it to be expecting if they're already a problem.
Yes, unfortunately, I think it rules dissection out.
So this is definitely an invasive species then.
It's not native.
There were no native species. I don't know where it could have come from or how they breed so rapidly. We found a handful, and then now there are hundreds. We're still trying to clear them out. We don't know what to do with the things.
How are you clearing them out?
Go ahead, Wild.
No, go ahead, Sam.
I was going to say, would I know, like from my agricultural background, if like these are known to be like, are they like a normal like agricultural invasive species?
Actually, you would know this from your background. They are not like so much a pest species that kind of develops. Tribbles originate from within a planet within this Klingon sphere of influence. And while they are mostly harmless, they don't harm people. They can eat and breed rapidly. Planets and food sources where they end up either through careless trade, because somebody has brought them to somewhere, or through them being aboard a ship or a shuttle that has then landed and they've been passed on. They can decimate food sources very quickly because all they do is eat.
Okay. Oh man, it's a lot of information to relay. Just really, if I may, these are you said Klingon?
Yeah, so they are not Klingon, but they're the home planet of the Tribbles exists within the kind of Klingon space.
Yeah. Okay. So these are from like a like Klingon-ish areas. And it probably came like aboard a ship or something. It had to have been brought here, obviously. But yeah, they eat and eat and eat. That's kind of all they do. Yeah, they're pretty much doing what they're meant to do. Like, this is all very normal. You definitely want to get rid of them, or we, I guess, want to get rid of them.
This is the problem. We can't get rid of them. By the time we clear out one section, they're decimating another. The crops are out the back. We barely have enough now to last us for another month or so. If we can't fix the problem soon, we'll have to come off-world and abandon the colony. Seems no matter where we put food, they follow.
I'm just gonna like sidle over to Rolster with the Tribble and kind of lean in. Like, do you think we could create a targeted virus? I've read wonderful things about myxomatosis on Earth.
It's a possibility. I'm not sure if we have the equipment here to manage it, though.
I'm not sure we have the time, but...
Rifles through medical equipment. Yes, the time also is a factor. How far have you tried moving your food sources?
The grain bin should have been secure, but they got into there. So we tried moving it down into the archaeological vault, which is sealed, and they got into there too. It just seems wherever food is, they find their way in. And like I said, we haven't had contact with another vessel for, a month or so.
How have you been taking them out?
Mostly sending somebody round to try and collect them all, and then we've been keeping them in an isolation tank in the medical lab.
Together in an isolation tank.
We haven't got any other option. The crew seem to enjoy the creature's company. They make a very, as you can see, pleasing purring sound, so nobody can bring themselves to harm the poor things, but we don't know what else to do with them.
If you had a lot of cages, that would be very helpful. Keep them all separate, no more breeding, no more getting around. You could see how they're sneaking out.
We could look into spaying and neutering techniques, but I have no idea of this thing's biology.
This is the thing that's confusing us. Well, we put a single one in isolation. We kept it fed. We didn't want the thing to starve, but we came back the next morning and there were 3 of them in there.
Just looks at Rolster. Cell division? Do you think it's mitosis?
I'm not sure. Is there a way that I can examine it through a mutative biology scope?
You can, if you scan it with a medical tricorder, you can probably pick up a little bit. Okay. So if you make a computer medicine test, and you can apply your focus if you've got one.
Reason or control?
Go for reason, actually.
Okay. And then applying the focus.
Nice. It's 3 successes. So you get yourselves... You've got 4 momentum in total now. So you can use that to ask me questions if you want to as well. You give it a scan over. It doesn't look like they would be built to divide. There isn't anything about what you can tell from their surface biology that would allow them to split in that way. From what you can find, trying to claw through the heaps of fur to get a look at what's beneath, you can't find any marks that would suggest that it had split. In the same way that kind of when geckos lose their tails and stuff like that, you can tell when it's been done. There is no obvious sign of anything like that.
Are the babies, are they inside then?
They are within the Tribble. You can see on the medical scan.
Is any other any other biology coming out in the scan, like mouth or eyes?
There are no eyes. You do, through the scan, and only through the scan, locate the fact that it does have a digestive tract and a mouth, but it's just fluff and fur, and it's matted, and trying to actually get to it is pretty much impossible. For all accounts, it's just a fur ball that happens to consume food at an alarming rate so far that you know. Roger turns to all of you again, and it's like the worst bit is that they don't just eat the food, they clog everything up. The replicator systems that we have here, they've got into those. We can't use those anymore. They seem to, we found them inside the computer consoles. It's a nightmare trying to access our database systems. It's been near impossible for the last 2 or 3 days. They've managed to get into the main computer core. There's not even any food in there.
Does the heat seem to bother them at all?
No. In fact, one of the places that they seem not to breed is... there's a section of the archaeological vault that we have that's designed to preserve any heat-sensitive specimens once dug up. Haven't noticed any in there.
Is that where you've been keeping the food then?
We've tried, but not all of it will last very well in there, unfortunately. And with half of our systems here being inoperable or playing up because of these creatures.
You don't know how much longer it's going to stay cold.
Yeah. This is the problem.
I think you should put that down.
Oh, yes. And I just put it on the table.
You place it down. So, if you wish, you could go and speak to our medical officer who's been running some tests on these creatures. And if you wanted to take a look at the crop fields, that's possible too. I don't know if anyone is able to have a look at some of our systems and see if you can deal with some of the chewed wires.
I can look into that.
And there is the Xenelian base that's further down the way, and he kind of just points off in a direction. So if you're concerned that they are possibly infested too, then I'm sure with current diplomatic relations, it might be worth seeing if they are okay too.
I would like to speak with him.
I can try and get through to them and see if they'd be happy to accept you paying them a visit.
So, Keeman, perhaps try to work on the communication wiring first?
Yes, by all means, I can do that.
I do apologise there's not been a warmer welcome, but if there is anything that you do need, please, the base is at your disposal.
Pulls out like a ration bar. You looked hungry.
He kind of very gingerly takes it and quite quickly opens the packet and just tries to you can tell he's hungry. He says, have you got any other provisions? The rest of my crew, they're very much the same.
We brought some, but some were disrupted on landing.
Yes, the planet's surface is not ideal.
It could happen to the best of landers and navigators.
How far away are we from Klingon space?
Quite far out. You are nowhere near even the neutral zone into Klingon space. So it traveling at kind of warp 5, it would probably take you a good few weeks to reach Klingon space.
It's quite odd that they are here.
I've started petting the one on the table again.
As soon as you start petting the one that's on the table, you can hear another from the filing cabinet that's just off to the side of the room.
Oh dear. I'm just going to go over to the filing cabinet and open it.
You open it and there's about 6 of them in there. Just
And I
amongst
shut it
kind of the
again.
pads and some paperwork.
I just shut it again. This is a problem.
Roger is currently kind of eating this, what I imagine is like a protein bar or something. He's like, quite.
I just walk back over to Rolster. I was going to suggest sterilization. I mean, they could be useful in certain therapy cases, but I think now we're looking at a more drastic solution.
I would like to save them, but I don't think we would be able to find all of them to sterilize, since they seem to be just appearing.
I'm not even sure you can sterilize a creature that seems to reproduce by asexual reproduction.
I didn't see anything besides a digestive tract and a mouth somewhere in there. There's definitely no cell splitting. It's got bits. It's not just one cell.
Oh
There's-
dear.
At this point, Roger pretty much invites you to do whatever you need to do. You have full run of the base, and he is going to attempt to make contact with the Xenelian colonists. And he pretty much leaves you in this room. As he walks off, he's eating this protein bar quickly, but it's in like small bites. It's almost like he's trying to savor it and make it last. So who would like to do what now? You've got a lot of avenues open to you. The colony base is yours to investigate and explore.
Well, I know Keeman has a task. There are scientists working on the clearly biological problem, and that is totally logical. So he'll go and work on the wires thing.
Okay, so you go off to make yourself useful down in engineering, essentially. Okay. Is anyone going with Keeman?
Roger would. He's like, oh, Keeman, do you want help? Do you want me to go with you?
Up to you, really.
Oh
And-
no.
Nefreyu just looks at Roger and goes, it might be a good idea. Keep him out of trouble.
Oh, right. Yeah. You know, I think I am gonna go with you, Keeman.
So you both make your way down to some kind of engineering station or room. It's fairly easy to find your way around these colonies. You've been in similar structures before. They tend to be laid out fairly similar. How about everybody else?
Have we gotten word back from the Selenians yet?
Not just yet, no.
Well,
I think I would probably go outside. Is there access to the roof by any chance?
You can probably find access to the roof. Yeah, there's probably a Jeffrey's Tube style hatch access that brings you out on top of the kind of. You can see now that you're on the ground. You can see it's not a spherical. It's kind of you get like the weird hexagons that kind of make up like a globe structure. So you probably can get up there and have a look around.
I'd probably see if I could scan to see if there's any signs of other spacecraft that have possibly entered.
Okay, so you go off and find somebody that directs you up to the roof. What is Rolster doing?
I know that I expressed interest in looking at the crops, but after hearing that the Tribbles are ravenous crop eaters, Rolsa will instead go to the chief medical officer that was mentioned. Of the
Okay.
place.
So we'll start with Keeman and Roger. You make your way through, past the kind of main rec room where there's a few people sitting. It appears that they are eating very meager kind of ration-packed food. Probably the last of emergency provisions. You notice the replicators on the wall in this room are out of order. They do not appear to be working. No one appears to be using them. A few of them kind of look up at you and kind of nod, and it's clear that they have been expecting you. They make no move to get up and introduce themselves. And you follow a few of the corridors around until you come to what looks to be a small engineering computer core area. There's a few computers here that you imagine are for the database, accessing whatever records they have on site here, as well as a small communications relay. There is a very stressed out woman standing in this room, and you can see she's currently you can just see the fur sticking out from the side as she's holding these things, and she's clearing Tribbles away from this workstation looking for something, and she hears you come in and kind of turns around, almost drops the ones that she's holding, says, oh, Roger did mention that you were here. Yes, this is perfect timing. She kind of just puts the Tribbles down on the nearest flat surface. As you can see, they've made their way into, everything. Communications is still working, but trying to access the database is near impossible. They've tuned through some wires and...
Keeman will go to the nearest overhead cabinet and just open it.
You are Kirk in the Trouble with Tribbles. There is just, a bunch of them fall out. And once they've kind of cleared, you can see in the cupboard is some engineering tools. It looks like spare data disks.
Do you know why they're coming down here? Engineer didn't catch your name?
Sally. I don't know why they're here. They seem to be everywhere across the base. They're in the replicator systems, the air conduits, everywhere. I mean, I quite like them myself as she picks up a couple and just begins to stroke them. They're very lovely, but I'd rather they weren't chewing through my database. It's very important work that we have here.
You realise your affection for these creatures is entirely illogical. Not to sound too much like a Vulcan, but...
I mean, you say that, but here, she hands one to you. Like, puts one in your hand as you've got a pile around your feet. And as she kind of presses it into your palm, it just begins to kind of purr and slightly shake. And you instantly feel very calm. You're no longer quite as stressed as you were when you opened that cupboard to have a bunch of them fall and hit you on the head.
Oh my. I don't know how Keeman would react to not feeling stressed. That doesn't seem right. I have a feeling he'd knee-jerk sort of resist this feeling of peace.
It's very odd. It probably freaks you out in that case then, if suddenly you just like,
And then like trying to panic but not being able to panic, like, these emotions, what are they?
So Sally sees your face and just kind of takes the Tribble back. Like, are you quite all right?
No, they're preying on your emotions.
But they are adorable. She just goes back to kind of gently stroking the Tribble. Like,
I think I see why they're hanging out in engineering. Roger, don't touch them.
Oh, okay. And you see, like, Roger's, like, about to, like, pick one up, and then he's like, oh.
The one who could use the emotional therapy is like, don't touch it.
Sally turns to you, Roger, and says, Oh, I mean, they're harmless, honestly. You can, here, she just hands you the one that she's taken off of Keeman.
I like immediately like put my hands up and like back away. I'm like, no, thank you, no, thank you.
Well, Roger said that you were here to try and help fix some of our database.
Yeah. Have you tried turning the system off and then on again?
I did,
Oh.
and then I couldn't turn it back on.
Oh, that's a problem.
First thing to do is check the connections. But what you could do, Sally, is I understand up in that place where we just were, which I know the name of, they're arranging to get all of the Tribbles together to create like a new petting zoo style thing. I think that'd be a perfect assignment for you.
Oh, that sounds incredibly fun. Yes, by the way, here is the data on all of the system manifolds. And she pulls out a pad, big old brick thing that you get in TOS, and hands it to you. And it's just streams and streams of equations and data and calculations. And she's like, you'll probably have to read through that before messing with the system. There are some classified files on there, so if you could just make sure that nothing happens to those and they stay well classified. Yes, here, that should help. And she hands you this pad. For all of her slightly kind of very obsessed with these Tribbles, quite happy nature, you can probably appreciate the amount of sheer volume of work that she spent figuring out exactly what connects to where and how it works. She's obviously taken a lot of time to kind of get these systems in place, and some of her frantic behavior is probably the fact that they are now no longer in place.
Mm-hmm.
And she kind of scoops up some of the Tribbles and disappears off down the corridor with them.
As she leaves, can I still access my communicator? Does it work?
You'll have a little handheld communicator in this era.
Yeah.
I know stuff.
But yes.
We don't have the badges. We're not fly.
Yeah, your badges are nice little iron-on patches in this era.
I knew that.
You get to do that.
You have a moment of kind of tapping your badge and thought that would be a lot easier.
Could be my next invention. Who knows?
And then you get to do the boop, 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 boop,
Bloop,
the little flip phone thing.
Yeah, you got your little flip communicator.
I would like to communicate with Nefrayu. Nefrayu.
You get a little bloop on your hip.
Hello.
Nefrayu, it's Keeman.
Oh yes.
And Roger.
And Roger.
Hello.
And Roger. Roger's very important in all of this. I've
Hello,
just...
dears. Have you found the communications errors?
No, but we have found Sally from engineering. I believe these creatures are having an effect on her ability to process emotions functionally and handle logic. Maybe it's
They
something.
do seem to have a calming effect.
Perhaps it's something you could look into. She's infatuated with these creatures, despite the fact they're destroying her life's work.
Yes. Is she human?
You're the biologist.
Yes. I'll see her when I find her. Don't worry.
Thank you, Nefrayu.
There are Tribbles in engineering.
Tons and tons of them. She seems to like them. They might be here because of the affection she's displaying, or they could be here because of the heat or data transfer. I'll let you know when I know more.
Do have a search and see if she's feeding them.
Ah,
Yes.
yes. Roger, could you start... See you. Could you start looking around for potential places they might have been fed in here?
Oh yeah, and so Roger at this point he had wandered off a little bit and was like looking at what the problems exactly were, like if there's wires that were nibbled or anything.
Okay.
He doesn't sit still, and then he'll be like all deep in and be like, yeah. What? I'm sorry. What did you want me to do?
Well, I immediately started to think they were attracted here because of some sort of habitual thing, like, a habitat thing, but Nefrayu, our biologist expert, reckons they might have been being fed here. So if you could find evidence of them being fed here, that would help us greatly with our investigation as to why they're here.
I mean, is meeting Sally not enough evidence?
What? I can't put these two things together, Roger. What are you trying to imply?
I mean, she did you see how much she liked them? Do you not think she was feeding them?
Well, it would be good to have some evidence, though, don't you think? Some concrete.
I mean, I guess. I don't know. I don't need evidence.
I don't wonder what.
Sure, I'll go look. And then I walk away and start looking. On the very
Okay. So if you make me I'm going to say insight and just make me an insight engineering test. You're also you're opening up, you're checking for that damage as well, but you're also looking for signs that they might have been fed.
Okay. Why did I not put anything into engineering? Oh no! Oh no!
We do have
Full momentum.
We have
yeah.
M.
For
We
me.
have like 4 momentum.
Yeah, I think I probably was supposed to say something about that before I rolled. I'm assuming.
Yeah, you normally buy dice before you roll, but if you
Yeah.
wanted to, so having a look at your values. So values are pretty cool. Anytime that you have a test where they might be relevant, you can call upon a value, and you can use them to do really cool stuff. So you can use them to gain a critical success. That's 2 successes. You can use them to introduce something to the story, which is called Make It So. Or you can use them to re-roll some dice. So you actually have a value called Know a Problem Before You Fix It.
Yeah.
If you want to, you can invoke that value. You can spend the 1 point of determination that everybody starts with.
Okay.
You can re-roll those dice if you wish.
Okay. Yeah. I feel like I probably should re-roll those dice.
Okay.
Oh my. Okay. Sorry. There we go. So it's re-rolling both of them.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, guys, I got a success!
There you go. You search through and you find a number of chewed cables. Part of the problem seems to be that the cables that supply the power to the databases have been chewed through on at least 3 of the consoles. And you can see that some of the cables, as you kind of open up bits and pieces to see, you're looking for like food crumbs or where they might be congregating around a food source. You do see that some of the cables that deal with the kind of constant encryption that goes on. So these computers, it's odd because you don't normally see this on a colony base, but it's like a secular encryption. Some of those cables have been chewed. But you do find, as you root through, in the drawer of Sally's desk, there is a small bag of what looks to be it's almost like couscous in its like consistency. It's kind of like a grainy, wheaty thing. It's probably come from a replicator, but there is a half-eaten open bag in there, along with the Tribble.
Tribble treats.
Yeah. I know. Are you sure it's not just a bag labeled Tribble treats?
Yeah, go on.
I was just say, so like in a very opposite of how he normally talks way, Roger just goes, "Oh yeah, so I found the problem. There's like at least 3 consoles where the cables are chewed through, and then and just like pulls out the bag with hopefully the Tribble like in the bag. I don't know if it's
Yeah, I imagine it's like a small little like Hessian bag that she's probably repurposed from some scrap material. And as you lift it up, some of the kind of couscousy grain stuff falls out, and there is a kind of Tribble just sitting in there purring.
I think I was right. I told you it was Sally. I didn't. Here's your evidence.
You are 100% correct, Roger. Great work. Why don't you radio that through to Nefreo and we can start getting on repairing these consoles.
Oh, okay. It like takes him a couple times to like flip his phone. Do I dial? I don't know how to call people.
I mean, I don't think anyone ever actually dials. They just kind of open them and talk.
I think
Oh,
you just say like Roger to Nefreyu.
Oh, Roger to Nefreyu. Nefreyu, come in.
Yes, dear, I'm here.
Oh, yeah, Sally was the problem. I'm pretty sure there's a bag of like this stuff that's food and it's open, and I found a Tribble in here. Also, there's cables that are chewed through, but I don't think you care about that really. Yeah, it was on the encryption too. In case you wanted to know, he turns to Cayman and says that. Sam just forgot to say that.
I'm sure you and Cayman have the cable situation under control. I'll speak to the colonists about not feeding the animals. It seems to be a peculiarly human trait, as I'm sure you know.
Yeah, I feed animals all the time. I don't think I've ever fed an animal. Sure.
I've seen some fascinating recordings of raccoons on Earth. Truly interesting. Thank you for the information.
On Earth, yes, humans do tend to feed everything, especially the things that aren't good for them.
Even pests. It's quite interesting. Their ability to pack bond is phenomenal. Thank you for the information, Roger. Goodbye.
Okay, so we're gonna jump over to our two medical officers. Where are you both now?
We were walking towards wherever he indicated that their medical officer was, their medical area.
You go through the same kind of rec hall that Keeman and Roger went through, and you see the same thing. A few people eating very meager, very clearly emergency ration meals. The replicators are out of use. You turn down a corridor to the right and right again, and you find yourself in what looks to be, it's both a med bay but also a research area. There is no one in here at the moment. There's a couple of computer banks. You can see the isolation tank that they have kept the Tribbles in is essentially like the isolation tank that you would put somebody in if they caught an infectious disease. At this point, with them all piled in there, it probably comes up to about knee height. It's a pretty big area filled with a lot of Tribbles. You can see that there are a couple in smaller isolation tanks, kind of little like domes almost. And there are some monitors attached to them and to the domes. So clearly, whoever runs this research lab is figuring something out. There's also a few what look to be artifacts scattered about in various states of being analyzed. There are a few that are still kind of wrapped in packing that are stacked up.
Are the monitors and computer systems working, or are they all?
Yeah, they're all on.
Okay. What is displayed on the monitors? What you said that they were making some sort of readings on the.
Yeah. So on the Tribbles, it looks like the singular ones that they've sectioned out. There's some stuff on kind of heart rate and respiration, general like almost like biobed kind of stuff that you'd look for. Mm-hmm. There is one of them that's set aside in another tank, and it looks like that it is being scanned. There is some food in there, and looking at the actual scan, it's similar to what your tricorders would have done, except more powerful. And what you can see is that this Tribble also is apparently pregnant.
Indeed. I wonder if they're trying to kill them or just look at them for now.
Well, given that one or possibly more of the colonists appear to be feeding them, and given the calming neurological effect, I'd say they're probably not trying to kill them outright. Small, fluffy things tend to engender some mercy.
All right. I'm going to take a look at those tablets. I don't know if you want to look at those. They're unsettling.
Yeah.
So, what kind of archaeological tablets do we have?
There are a few that look like they've been burned. They look like they were made of stone, and they are blackened and chipped in places. It looks like something has been carved into them, some form of writing. At the moment, it's kind of left open on some packaging. It's like somebody's just opened it up and had a look at it. There are a couple of others out. There is one that appears to be some kind of small metal object. Again, in this kind of blackened, burnt state that is currently sitting in some very strange kind of greenish liquid. It looks like that it's either built to kind of remove the outer layer or break something down. None of them look hugely familiar at first glance.
Can I look at them? I have a focus in linguistics. Would that
Same.
be? Yeah.
Xenolinguistics for the win.
I have regular linguistics.
I mean, you can assist if you want to. So someone can make the test and then somebody else can assist.
Well, you are the superior officer, by all means.
Alright, so I'll make the test and Rolster will assist.
Yeah. So what would you like to roll for this? What are you actually looking for?
I'm looking at the carvings to see if I can discern any meaning from them, whether they are a language or pictographic, if I can discern anything about the contents of this tablet.
Okay, yeah. So if you make a... you can either use reason or insight.
Insight.
Yeah, insight, and I would do that, I would say science with that.
Science.
Do you want to buy any dice for this? It's going to be difficulty 3.
How much is dice? Is that one momentum?
So it's 1 momentum for the first, 2 momentum for the second, and 3 momentum for the last.
I will buy 1 dice.
1 dice, okay.
Can I use my focus in xenolinguistics?
Yeah, you absolutely can.
Okay.
And then, Rolster, if you want to choose either insight or reason. Reason with science, and you're only going to roll 1 dice for me. So whenever you choose somebody, you only roll the 1 dice if you're the assistant. The leader rolls the normal number of dice.
So I just moved task roll down to 1.
Yep, task roll down to 1, and you
my
do
task roll is 3.
3. Yeah.
Okay.
And you're looking for 3 successes between you.
All the ones.
So that's 4 in total. So you've gained back the momentum that you spent.
Nerd power.
It takes a little bit to figure out. You sit there for a minute and you both have to, you're bouncing ideas off of each other. And it looks like this language has got some similarities to Andorian.
Mm-hmm.
But not quite. It's like it shares a background, but how much of it you're not entirely sure. The tablet itself, although you can't decipher the language as such, in terms of translating it, some of the images and the depictions look like they show somebody working the land and these strange, almost crystal-like objects that are on the land or that they are holding.
And these crystal-like objects bear no resemblance to tribbles, right?
Not at all.
Oh, good. Just checking. I share my findings with Rolster. I imagine we're both like bent over the tablet having tiny nerdy conference.
They definitely don't look anything like it, but I can't help but wonder, were they possibly fossilized and somehow brought back?
That's incredibly worrying. It would explain how this land became barren if they were already here. I'm not sure they could wreak so much havoc that the land would blacken, though. That seems to be more...
You said there was like a a tube or something full of the corrosive material, corrosive liquid. Rolsta's gonna look at it and kind of look at the charred surface of things, kind of examine it. Can I use chemistry to look at it?
Yeah.
Okay. Is that reason science chemistry?
Yep. This be difficulty 1.
Oh.
You pick it up and you can't really work out its chemical composition. It doesn't help that it's been soaked in this liquid, which is also kind of messing with your tricorder scan.
Mhm.
The only thing you can really gather is it reminds you, it's kind of got like a sharp, almost like pickaxe edge shape to it. And it's about this big. That's about all you can make out. As you are having a look over this stuff, a woman comes in, again in a kind of grey overalls, with an armful of tribbles. She's like, oh, Peter isn't here, I see. I will just leave these in the isolation tank for the petting zoo. And kind of goes over, opens the door to the isolation tank, some tribbles come spilling out, and you probably just watch as she puts them back in and closes the doors again. It's like, I will go and find some more of the adorable little creatures. And you can see she looks quite pleased at them.
You must be Sally.
Yes, how did you know? Oh, it's so wonderful to meet Starfleet officers. You do such wonderful work. Oh, I bet it's amazing going around on those ships all day.
It has its benefits.
Not as amazing as the petting zoo will be, I'm sure.
Well, you know, if it keeps them out of my engineering office, that would also be great. I bet the systems on your ship are incredible. And she just launches into like a short 5-minute conversation about what kind of ship do you have, and if you tell her, she'll start telling you about your ship's systems. And unless
Nefreya is just listening like enraptured, just like, go on.
And you can see her true nature for all of her kind of bright and bubbliness. It sounds like she just lives in technical manuals and equations and her little engineering office. And unless there's any reason you want to keep her, she'll probably just go right on out once she's had her moment of kind of telling you about your ship.
When she's on her way out, there's a moment of Sally.
Yeah.
Food belongs in the mess, not in engineering. Just to keep in mind, dear.
Oh, okay. She looks like she has a look where she's like, I don't know what you're talking about, but I really know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
She kind of smiles and walks off.
Nefreyu, I have a experimental idea. This corrosive liquid, what do you reckon it would do to a tribble?
I think there's only one way to find out. We're not in short supply.
Do you see any tongs or something? I don't want it soothing before.
Oh yeah, there's definitely tongs. Just to note, this corrosive material is something that has clearly been poured in to try and clean the art itself.
Sorry, cat.
Yeah. So I'm gonna pick up the tongs, give them the practice clicks like you have to do to make sure they're working, and lift one of the glass bells off one of the tribbles, and what happens?
As you begin to lower it in, as the kind of bottom bits of the fur start to touch the corrosive liquid, there is a audible as it starts to, it still makes that strange kind of brilling, purring noise, but it sounds a lot more panicked. It's just the edges of the bottom bit of the fur begin to kind of singe.
I'm wondering if there's a faster method of euthanasia we could approach. I think several of the colonists, if not the crew, are going to not like this. And for an infestation on this scale, I'm not sure it would be efficient. And there's that kind of lean where you can see that they are that. She's just that close to just like putting her finger under the tongs and lifting them back up.
Well, do we even know if they can die though?
I'm sure there are easier methods to test than an acid bath. Before we get to the acid bath point.
Well, if we gave
Phaser,
it the
perhaps.
if we gave it the acid bath, that would clear away all the fur, and we would be able to dissect it more easily.
Carry on. And she just walks a few paces away. She's a scientist, but she's a counselor. She's just gonna go over here.
Okay, Rolster, I'm going to need you to, as this thing is purring, and you know it's making a very pleasing sound that's making you feel quite happy. I'm going to need you to try and roll if you actually want to go through with this.
Yeah, I want to go through with it as best I can.
I need you to roll me. Oh, I'm going to say this is going to be presence command. Because this is you being like, I'm not doing this to hurt this creature, but I need to find out what's going on.
Could I use my value of accounting for all variables as a waste of time?
Yes, you can. What would you like to do with that? So would you like to, you can gain yourself a critical success, which is 2 successes to start with.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so you've got 2 successes, and this is a difficulty 4 test.
Okay. Is there anything else I can do to make this less bad for me?
So you can buy extra dice if you wish. The next dice will cost 2 momentum because your 1 from your determination counts as the first dice bought.
I'm going to presume, by the way, at this point, since we've run 2 tricorders over it, and someone else has done a more in-depth scan that we've been witness to, we can pretty much assume from its physiology that it is not sentient. Like size of brain and stuff like that, because otherwise it's got really darker if we're not sure this is like a non-sentient animal.
So I imagine that Nefreyu goes over and starts looking at these scans, like something happened. There's not so much a brain, but they do seem aware. As you get once you get closer to them, kind of within touching distance, they do start purring at you, and you do feel that kind of that urge that you had earlier to just reach out and lift a lid and give one a stroke.
Yeah. I'm just hoping this is more on the scale of like necessary animal dissection, and not like we'd be aware that this isn't like a sentient species that we are in fact torturing.
I mean, you could run information on the database from the USS Fusion on Tribbles, if you wanted to, and see if there's anything else there.
I think before we kill it, Nefre, you would want to be pretty certain that there's not a mind in there.
Okay. In which case, if you want to pay me a point of momentum, I will tell you what the ship can tell you about the Tribbles.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to. She's so ethical.
Okay. Oh, sorry, I can't count 3 momentum you have left. You ask up to the ship, and I imagine that this is happening like in the moments as Rolster is debating with herself whether or not she can really go through with this. And you get some information back. Seems that Starfleet have been aware of Tribbles for a while, although very little has been conducted into their kind of biology and physiology. They seem to make a brilliant purring noise for pretty much everybody. It seems to be a trait of the species. It has been recorded, however, that concerning something that happened aboard the USS Enterprise under the command of Captain James T. Kirk, that they discovered that Tribbles have an inherent hatred of the Klingon species. They scream, they make horrible shrill noises in the presence of a Klingon.
And I know this probably won't come back down as an answer, but Nefre, you would ask, has any experiments been done into people wearing realistic Klingon masks or pictures of Klingons?
I'm going to go ahead and say yes, because I like breaking canon. It appears to be... Oh my god, so many cats. I'm so sorry. There's cats, and it's just very... yeah. It appears to be actual Klingons, because one was discovered by Captain James T. Kirk in disguise through a Tribble's reaction to him. So they do have some kind of sense of at least the difference between Klingons and any other species.
Right. But nothing's been done with pictures of Klingons. It's one of those tests for sentience, whether a creature can recognize a living thing and, you know, like an inanimate thing, or whether they react to something else. But if they reacted to a human, it's probably a pheromone thing. Okay, I'm done.
Okay.
Given that none of the information I've got back has indicated any kind of sentience to a disturbing level, I'd just kind of let Rolster get on with her thing.
Okay.
Greater good.
If you want to make that roll for me then, Rolster.
I would like to buy one more dice.
Yep, so that'll cost 2 momentum.
Okay. I don't know how to... What button do I push on the character sheet?
So if on where it says task roll,
okay,
just up it to 3 dice, because you've already got two successes.
2 successes. Okay.
Yeah. And I'm paying out some threat, which is what's made it difficulty 4.
Okay.
Okay, so it's only 1 success. You get the all clear from Nefreu, and as you begin to kind of go down, its purring just gets louder and louder, as if it's just like, please don't, please don't, please don't. And it's just, you're overwhelmed with the feeling of wanting to reach out and pet the damn thing.
Man, that's really unfortunate. As I like start getting overwhelmed and I'm like having these conflicting feelings, I'm just gonna sort of like chuck it in the tongs and just be like, I can't.
The tongs go clattering. The Tribble apparently seems fine. It kind of bounces on the other side of the room, and you can still hear it purring. So
that is quite a self-preservation mechanism.
It's horrible.
So we're going to jump over to Guy now, who has found his way up to the roof. It's not been easy climbing up through Jeffrey's tubes and small conduits, some of which are filled with tribbles. But you eventually get there, and you are now standing on top of the kind of hexagonal domed roof of the main part of this colony.
Right. So I would be scanning for if like there's any engine particle signatures or things like that, you know.
Sure. Are you doing that with your I'm guessing you've got a tricorder?
Yes.
Cool. Okay. If you make me you can do control and science, or you could do control and engineering. It's up to you.
I'll do engineering. Can I use my focus of survey?
Yes.
So I'll do that. Zeros.
No successes. You don't pick anything up. The only thing that you do really pick up is a slight signature from the shuttle. You imagine that's just because of kind of wind drift and particle drift and things like that. You don't spot any like warp signatures that might indicate a starship landing. So the starship that they had contact with about a month back probably would have been the same way that you guys have come down through shuttle. There's nothing to suggest in the landscape here that anything has landed more recently than you have. From here, you can make out the Xenelian colony across the way. Whether or not they have had anything land, you also can't pick up on.
Would I be able to contact was it Mr. Thompson on the track or through my communication?
Yeah, you can probably retune your communicator to contact Mr. Thompson. You do so, and he's yes.
Yes. Have we heard back from the Zenalians yet?
Actually, they communicated through a few moments ago. They're happy to receive you. They've asked for a few hours in order to make their base look presentable to representatives of the Federation, but they are happy to do so.
All right. Guess I'll contact everybody else. Does anybody need assistance? I would like to check something out.
Not unless you can give a furry monster an acid bath.
We're attempting to construct a more complete idea of its biological functions, including extermination.
Yes, that definitely sounds like the medical team.
No.
Kimin, would you need anything? Or
Time more than anything. We'll get these things fixed. They've got a bunch of like subsidiary systems that they really don't need running here, so we can possibly optimize things a little bit.
all right, just contact me if you need anything. Expendable out. And I would use my overambitious value to immediately head over to the Zenalian, see if they're doing anything, trying to hide anything.
Okay, so you don't want to bring anybody with you?
I feel if they're doing something, it would put them in more danger than anything else.
Okay, in which case, you begin to set off towards the Zenalian colony. And I think that's where we're going to take a break. Is that right, Scrap?
Yeah, that'll be grand.
Awesome.
We'll take 10 minutes, everyone. Go and have a stretch. That includes viewers as well, especially if you've been viewing for an extended period of time. I've seen some of you in here for at least 6 to 8 hours. Go and take a bio. Grab yourself a drink. Have a stretch. Be healthy, everyone. We will be back in just a few moments as I bring up the break screen. All right, we'll see you in a minute. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, hi everyone, and we're back. We are stretched, we are rejuvenated and refreshed, and ready to figure out how to stop this Tribble trouble.
Okay, so at the moment we have our 2 medical officers trying to look into how these Tribbles function, how their physiology works. We have our flight controller and our engineer trying to fix away some of the databank systems at the Federation colony base. And then we have our chief of security, who has bravely decided to go and meet with the Xenelian colonists at the other colony site on this barren wasteland of a planet. See what they've got going on. So, Guy, you make your way across there and you walk it. You see nothing but kind of empty swathes of blackened, almost burned, charred land. And eventually you reach the Xenelian colony. What strikes you as odd is, unlike the Federation colony, this one has a perimeter fence. It's kind of the equivalent of almost like a wire chain link fence. And there are 2 Xenelians. They look very similar to Andorians, so kind of blue skin with white hair and antennae. Whereas the Xenelians here, they have this very, very kind of deep, almost green skin. Very, very dark in color. They don't have the antennae, but they do share the kind of very white, stark hair of the Andorians. And for a minute, you kind of have to do a double take because your Starfleet has Andorian officers, and that you can see there's some very distinct similarities in their kind of physiology. Both of these Xenelians are wearing overalls in this kind of dark bluish color. They both appear to have some kind of sidearm attached to a kind of belt they're wearing around their waist. Not too dissimilar from the phaser that you carry.
Does there seem to be any way that I could sneak around without them noticing me?
Probably not, because the landscape is quite open as you approach. Mm-hmm. Likewise, you've spotted them. They have also probably spotted you, and they do kind of look up.
Mm-hmm. Then when they spot me, I'll give a wave.
They kind of raise their hands as well. They walk forward from one of them walks forward from the perimeter gate. And in a very kind of very un-Andorian voice, you expected the same very kind of humanoid qualities to it, and a very kind of slightly gruff, harsher voice simply states, "You are the Federation delegate?"
Yes, I am. I came to see if you have been having the same issues.
Yavak Dokar is waiting for you. Follow me. And he, without even waiting for you to kind of walk up to him or meet his step, turns and begins walking ahead towards the base.
Do the 2 of them flank me, or just one remain at the gate?
One remains at the gate.
Do I seem to notice if they're looking at me suspiciously or anything, or?
They don't appear to be. It looks like they are kind of guards, so you do get kind of the glance one over. But they don't seem to be eyeing you in a way that you would feel is threatening or suspicious. Cautious maybe, but nothing more than that.
Right. Okay. So I'll just follow him in then.
You follow him in. It's got very kind of similar swoosh doors. The construction appears to be almost the same as the Federation colony. The materials are slightly different. The actual doorways are a lot taller. And you go through and you are greeted. There's no double airlock doors here. You are sent down a corridor, and as you turn a corner, there is another Xenelian standing there. He is quite tall. the same kind of very deep, dark green skin. He is not dressed in overalls. It looks like he is wearing an actual, like a uniform, almost military in its style, kind of cargo pant-like bottoms, and a similar, akin to like khaki, like shirt that's done up quite nicely, but he doesn't appear to have any like rank insignia or anything. And he kind of nods, and the guard turns around and leaves. Says, welcome. You are a representative of the Federation starship that's currently orbiting the planet. Am I correct?
Yes. We've been having issues with tribbles. I've heard that you have been having some as well.
Yes, those small, furry little creatures.
Yes, they seem to populate immensely and very quickly.
Yes, we have found that here also. Step through into my office. You can maybe answer the questions that you have. And he turns round and leads you up the corridor into a side room. And this is a proper office, whereas in the Federation colony you were greeted with, it was almost like a kind of casual office, kind of meeting-like room. This is an office. It has a desk, a computer built into it, and a chair in front. And he walks around the desk and sits down and motions for you to sit.
When heading to the office, did I notice anyone else around, or is it just seemed very barren?
You do notice a few people around, moving between corridors. Some of them appear to be carrying supplies or boxes. You probably notice that most of them are armed with some kind of sidearm, which the Federation colonists weren't.
Right. Did any of them look gaunt, like the scientists seem to have?
If you make me a reason science or reason medicine check for me. Difficulty 2. Don't forget, you can buy some dice if you want to. You have got a momentum in the bank still.
Right. Sure, I'll use a momentum. So that would be complication is the
so you want task roll.
Complication is a difficulty, or is that?
No, complication is to do with on what number do you roll a critical failure, basically.
Okay. Would my survey work with this as well, or no?
Not with this, no.
Okay. How about survival?
Yeah, you can use survival.
Okay, survival. There we go. 1 to 2.
Yes, that's 2 successes that you've got there, so that is enough. None of them look gaunt. Not in the same way. So the Federation colonists, it wasn't like they had really sallow skin, but you could start to see the effects of malnutrition. None of the Xenelians that you come across in your short walk to that office appear to have any of those signs. And you're basing that off of your knowledge and having worked with kind of Andorian officers in your Starfleet career. None of them have got that sign. None of them got slightly off-coloured skin or hair. None of them appear to be frail. But you go into the office, and as you step through the doorway after Javak Dokar, you hear a hiss. And as you turn, as you step through the door, this large lizard-like creature lunges forward at you.
Of course.
It's about the size of a Komodo dragon, with 3 legs either side, and it lunges at you, and you watch that as it does, just as it gets close to kind of like up to your chest as it leaps, it's kind of pulled back by something and ends up back on the floor, and you can see it's wearing a collar, and there is a kind of chain link lead that is tying it to a small post towards the side of the wall. and it just hisses at you. And Javat who is now sitting down quite comfortably in his seat, says, "Oh, please don't mind him. He doesn't like visitors."
Pet or security?
"Oh, I have an affinity for the creatures, that's all.
Huh.
If they happen to keep some of the people here in line, what's the harm in that?" He kind of gives you this smile. So he kind of, again, just motions for you to sit.
All right. I'll take a seat. Quick survey of the room, of exits, and
One entrance, one exit, which is where you came in from.
and did he have a phaser on him as well?
He does, yeah.
Okay. So, have you guys had issues with the tribbles in your food storage? I mean,
We have. We heard reports from the other colony that they were having far bigger problems than us. Our crops have been mostly untouched, but our internal storage, yes, we've been having issues with.
how have you managed to keep them out of the crops?
I'm not sure. Perhaps we just haven't become as overrun as they have.
Have you been eradicating them on a regular basis, or?
We have, yes. We've found that occasionally they can get into places that they shouldn't.
Right.
Into equipment that we'd rather they stay out of.
Yes, that seems to be how they operate. If you wouldn't mind, could I take a look around, seeing if they seem to be affecting any areas, or if you could take me to the crops, I could inspect to see if there's anything about the soil in particular.
I mean, I can give you a tour of the base and you can see what the problem is like for yourself. I have not visited the other colonies, so I'm not aware quite how great their troubles are, other than the small communication that we've received, but I would be happy to show you around.
Yes, I would greatly appreciate that.
You can see he's making it quite clear that you do not have free roam. It is very, I will show you around. And it's like, is there anything else I can tell you before we get started that you may wish to know?
Have you managed to remain, or the tribbles seem to affect people when they touch them. Have you guys been able to remain out of contact with them, out of physical contact, or?
I mean, some of my crew here do enjoy their company, but considering they are destroying the crops, I think that has made them a little less loved in that sense.
Interesting. Would there have been anything that I could have gotten from the database that would have told me what their personality of the aliens tend to be like?
Is this something that you would have liked to have researched before?
Well, yes.
Okay, I'll say that kind of on your way you can access the database from the ship and see what's going on. There's not too much in there. It seems that they are a species or a culture that is fairly new to the Federation. In fact, it was while they were looking to colonize on this planet and do archaeological digs and whatever else the Federation are here for, it looks like that's where they came across them, because this planet is within the main star system that the Xenelian homeworld is in. From everything that you would have read, diplomatic tensions are high because the Federation would like to bring them in, but the Xenelians are curious. And some people have noted that they do bear a resemblance to the Andorians, but they haven't yet found if there is a genetic link between the two, or whether it is just coincidental that the two species share similar traits.
All right, yes, I would just stand up and like, please lead the way.
Okay. As you get up out of the seat, the lizard hisses at you again. And you watch as he goes over and unhooks the lizard from this post and kind of wraps the chain around his hand, almost like a leash. And as soon as he has control of it, it doesn't lunge at you anymore. It kind of hisses in your direction every now and then, but for the most part, it walks beside him like a trained animal.
Great.
He
Pretty sure
begins
I made
the
a
tour.
terrible mistake.
So let's jump back over to Kerman and Roger, who are currently in main engineering in this colony base, after having discovered that perhaps Sally, the on-site engineer, has been feeding the Tribbles. What are you both doing?
Now, let me tell you, Roger, the trick is not to do things too quickly. You know, people can get into a real habit of relying on you like that, you know, and like, yeah, we could fix this real quick and to go on to other things, but then people expect us to fix everything real quick. So, it's best to just seem like you're completely incompetent like 80% of the time, and then pull it out of the bag when it really counts. That's my advice to you. That's free.
Roger definitely is not listening. He's like deep in some hole somewhere. Like, you know, if they had headphones in, he would have his headphones in. Like, he's humming to himself or something, like, you know, some Star Trek theme or something like that.
They've got this cable going out to an old entertainment system that no one's used for like 5 years. So we can take that cable.
Power shuts off. But yeah, probably just trying to fix the broken cables, splice them together.
Okay. Are you both working on the same thing? Because you've got basically the power systems and then you have that encryption cable. So who's working on what?
I'd probably be working on the encryption cable because that's what I found.
Yeah.
Okay.
I specialize in power sources, so that makes tons of sense.
Mhm.
Okay, so I want each of you to roll me your own test, using whichever attribute and discipline combo and focus, if you've got one that applies, that you wish. So this will probably use engineering. If you want to, Roger, you can. You could use science instead, because it is encryption.
Yeah, so that I don't have to roll the one that I didn't put anything into.
But if you both make that roll, it's going to be difficulty 2. So if anyone wants to buy some dice, you don't have any momentum, but you can pay me in threat.
Oh.
I'm trying to. What's the difference between control and reason?
So control is about like fine movements, whereas reason is more about the recall of memory or the use of logic.
Oh, awesome. So could I use control engineering for the power source?
Yeah.
Then? Right.
Absolutely. Because you know what you're doing. It's not a sense of recalling information. It's just making sure that you put the right wire in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, totally. And I must have a focus. I've got computers, I've got electro power plasma systems, and if I really need it, I do have my greatest invention, the torque hammer.
The torque. I want to hear some more about the torque hammer.
Essentially, it's a hammer which breaks after a certain amount of pressure is applied to the head. So you can only apply so much pressure with one hit. Does it work in real life?
Why?
No. Does it work in fantasy? Yes, because sometimes too much power can break things.
You can use your computer focus, or if you've got power systems, anything like that, that will apply.
Cool.
So if you both make me your rolls.
I'm going with control science, by the way.
Yeah.
If you wanted to know. I don't know how much you want to know. Oh my gosh.
No, that sounds good, because what I'm imagining is you're very, very carefully kind of doing this.
Yeah.
That is 1 success from Keeman.
Sorry, I'm trying to scroll over. There we go.
I clicked focus used yes. I guess it's taken that into account, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
2 successes. Okay.
Oh my gosh, this is never gonna happen again.
I'm going to spend some threat.
No.
Keenan, as you're talking to Roger about this idea of, looking competent 80% of the time, so you can come in with, all of this great stuff. And as you do that and you look over and you realize Roger is not listening to you, you accidentally touch one of the wires to the wrong place. and the power system for the computer bank you're working on, that was mostly working. It was kind of like optimizing it and running stuff through, just goes and shuts down.
And he wasn't electrocuted?
Probably be a little bit electrocuted, if I'm honest.
Oh, good.
I'm not going to roll a lot of damage here. Let's just go for... so you take...
I feel like that's something that happens a lot to Keeman, just getting electrocuted.
So you take 2 points of stress. It doesn't injure you too badly. It's just kind of like it catches the tips of your fingers and you get that horrible tingling feeling like up your arm for a minute that you kind of have to shake it off. But Roger, you hear the yelp and the clatter from behind you, and you push through and you manage to connect it up, and you can hear the database system coming back to life as the encryption comes back in, and you pop up out of underneath this panel to assess essentially the damage to the system. And what you can see is on the screen is a number of files listed, all of which shouldn't be accessible, but it seems that actually there is something wrong with the encryption. Nothing to do with what you've done, but the damage to the power sources and the tribbles chewing through cables has actually screwed it up a little bit. And these files that shouldn't be accessible are sitting there in front of you.
Can I look at the files?
You can. So you click on the first one, and the first one just appears to be orders from Starfleet. They don't really say anything interesting. It looks like it's all it's written so that you'd have to know what they were talking about to understand it. The second one, you click on it, and it has a file name of Project Genesis. When you open it up, it looks like the file itself is either encrypted separately or it's corrupted. But you do see the name of a researcher that's listed on there as Carol Marcus. The last file that you found is to do with mining. Which is odd, because there's no real sign of mining equipment here, but it looks like it is a report that has been issued to suggest that perhaps because of the nature of the planet, the compacting of the planet's surface and the heat, this is possibly somewhere that the Federation may find interesting before the use of Project Genesis to search or mine for rare minerals such as dilithium.
Nothing about tribbles.
Nothing about tribbles.
Okay.
But it might go some way to explaining why the Federation would like to keep on good diplomatic terms with the Xenelians.
Yeah.
Because dilithium is a rich resource.
Right. Can I try to crack the encryption?
On the Genesis file.
Yeah.
It's going to be difficulty 5. It's going to be...
No, I can't try to crack it then. I don't have enough to crack it. Wait. I don't have enough to crack it. We don't have any momentums.
You can spend it in threat.
No. I'm scared. I already feel threatened. Okay. I will go on my comms and I'll be like, hey guys, everybody, I think that there was a mining thing, and that's why I just realized this could be a really bad idea if they can hear over guys. But anyway, moving on. I don't know, or Roger doesn't know that. Hey guys, they want to mine here, I think, for something called Project Genesis. Don't know what it is. But I think that's something that they want to do. Okay, bye. Close.
I love the way that Roger closes it as well.
Keelan, you hear this as well, and you hear Roger talking about the possibility of dilithium being present in the planet's surface and mining.
And from my extensive research into quantum mechanics, electroplasmic energy resources, warp field dynamics, and the other thing which I can't remember because my character sheet's not up, would I know that this is useful to me in my research?
Dilithium crystal matrix is part of what makes the warp core on your starship work. Dilithium is kind of one of the main things. Without it, your ship goes nowhere except on impulse power. And it's getting increasingly difficult in recent times to find sources of dilithium. There's often huge debates over whether or not the Federation should be mining dilithium as much as they do on uncolonized planets. Species that have access to dilithium-rich planets the Federation is very keen to keep diplomatic relations open with them so that they have access to those dilithium mines. This planet could suddenly become quite valuable, more than just a archaeological dig, if dilithium is present under its surface.
That's quite a thing you've discovered there, Roger.
Oh, is it?
Oh, honey. Sorry.
Yes, and also out of canon, I've just figured out how I can justify the torque hammer as well. You know how what's it called? Magnesium. Is it accelerated magnesium? I've forgotten what it's called. I'm on like 18, 19 hours. Expanded magnesium or something. When you hit it, it explodes. Well, yeah. When you apply force, it creates energy. So by controlling the amount of force you apply, you can control the amount of energy. Justified. Torque hammer.
In this track, you can justify just about any piece of equipment you like.
Fantastic. Yeah, and perhaps dilithium works some way like that. Who knows? Yes. Do they have any information, Roger, about where they are storing the dilithium?
No. Have you finished yet?
Little bit of a setback. Like I said, 80% of the time, seem incompetent.
What are you talking about? I don't know.
I mean, Roger, you can probably just show Keeman the file.
I could.
Yeah, so what it's actually listing is the fact that they suspect there is dilithium present. They have not begun mining it. They don't have mining equipment here. But it states that before consideration of using Project Genesis on the planet, they may wish to consider mining it for dilithium if it's present. So it sounds like it's something that may have been noticed, but nothing has been started yet. They haven't mined anything. They don't have any proof that there is some here. It's just speculation. And I'm going to leave you both with that thought for a moment. And I am going to jump very quickly back to Guy, who is having a tour of this Xenelian colony.
Before leaving the room, is there a way for me to set my tricorder on silent scan so it's constantly running and sending information back to the ship?
You can absolutely do that. It's about whether or not you get noticed.
Okay.
So if you make me a daring and I mean, you can tell me it'd be daring plus something. So you're trying to be sneaky about it.
What is con? Is that...
Go for daring and security, because I imagine that's part of your security training is
Sure.
being able to kind of do this stuff sneakily and.
Would my espionage focus help?
Absolutely.
Right. Let's see. And can I buy dice for this?
You can. I don't think you've got any momentum at the moment, but you can pay me in threat.
Okay. Sure, I'll do that. Just in case. Kitty, no.
Kitty, yes.
No, I can't see. Okay, and okay, so oof. So 1.
One success. Okay. He's kind of preoccupied with this lizard, and he walks out of the door in front of you. So you very quickly reach down and just flick a couple of buttons, and you're used to where they are, so that it begins to scan and record things as you go along. But you won't be able to view those until you take the time to actually sit and go through that data.
Sure. Can I use my untapped potential for that? Or is that's a success, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll be able to roll a 1d6.
Yeah.
That adds 1 threat, and we get 1 momentum.
Okay, let's see. So you rolled a 1, which is I think I only get threat on a...
No, it's part of the thing.
Oh, okay.
To the threat.
Oh, it's only if you roll an effect. So an effect is a 5 or a 6. So you get a point of bonus momentum. So you can't save bonus momentum, but you can spend it immediately. So if you want to, you can, I'll let you spend it to have the tricorder record a really specific piece of information that you're looking for, or to ask me a question as you go about the tour. It's up to you.
Let's use it for a question then.
Okay, what would you like to know? As he begins to kind of show you through some corridors, he shows you the crew quarters, some of the rec rooms.
The question is, is there any specific area they seem to be avoiding?
Yes, there is. So he takes you down past what looks to be med bay or a research area, and it's got kind of like a glass window in. If anyone plays Fallout, like whenever you see the weird Vault-Tec labs and they got like the big, there is that. And he lingers for a moment to tell you that it's the research center, and he very swiftly moves on. And he actually turns a corner. He doesn't continue straight on down the corridor, which at the end it looks like it's got some kind of storage room. But he seems to kind of gloss over that and very charismatically just be like, and down here we have. He doesn't go into too much detail about either of those two locations.
Right. Okay. So I'll just continue following him then.
Yeah. So he takes you through, and you notice as you're walking around, no one else looks like they're suffering from malnourishment. In fact, when you walk past some of the rec rooms, you can see that there are people sitting and eating, and not small-sized portions, like regular portions of food. You do also spot there are security patrols, it seems. Never more than 2 people at a time, but very much like the 2 that you saw on the front gate, that appear to be walking around in a slightly more guards-like uniform, patrolling the corridors. And you see at least 2 or 3 other people with these like pet lizards of some kind.
Right. All right. I am just going to let him take me on his tour and just let the tricorder do its work.
Okay. The tour finishes up pretty much. It's very similar to the Federation colony. It's a little bit bigger, but it's odd because there's a few corridors he doesn't take you down. There's a few rooms that he kind of overlooks and glosses past, and he takes you into into one of the mess halls, and kind of sits you down. He brings you over some food and drink and says, "So, have you enjoyed the tour? As you can see, we're not having too much trouble here with the Tribbles."
Yes,
But,
I haven't seen one yet, actually.
well, like I said, we have had people doing the rounds, collecting them. We have a much more substantial staff here than the Federation colony do.
Yes, I know. It's an awful lot of guards as well. Is that because of the?
It's better to be safe. We are still in quite tense diplomatic negotiations with the Federation. So my people are a precautious one, if nothing else.
Quite understandable.
This is where somebody comes up to him while he's kind of sitting with you and says, I'm so sorry, sir, but the shuttle is arriving soon with... And he kind of looks at you, back at him. Supplies? Would you like to come and check everything in? And this Xenelian looks a little bit nervous. He doesn't quite know what to make of you sitting there. And Javak Tokar says, yes, I will be along. And he looks at you and says, I'm sure that you don't mind waiting here for a few moments while I like to oversee the deliveries coming in personally.
Sure. Actually, if there's any chance I could use a restroom or something. You have facilities like that? We
do. Just at the end of the room, just up there. And he points behind you. And you can see there are some doors for restrooms.
Right. I'll go into the restroom. Does there seem to be anybody in there?
Not at the moment, no. He does leave you with saying, I do hope you will wait here for me. It would be such a shame if a member of the Federation were to betray the trust, especially with such fine diplomatic negotiations going on. And it's, there is a moment of basically him saying, you're going to stay in this room, you're going to stay in the mess hall, or you're not going to leave. And he gets up and follows off this other younger Xenelian out of another entrance in the room as you make your way to the restroom.
Yes. Guess I'll check the restroom to see if there's anybody else in there.
There is no one else in here at the minute.
Then I will attempt to contact the shuttle and tell them to scan the incoming Xenelian shuttle.
Okay, so you contact the ship, and a few moments pass, and they come back and they say, it seems that there's some kind of technology preventing us from scanning the shuttle. It might not be deliberate. It could just be that they have technology that we don't yet know about. We are still in diplomatic talks with them, so they haven't shared everything with us. Is there some reason for concern?
Possibly. Put security team on standby, just in case.
Will do. And your communication officer cuts off the line, and you are still in the restroom. No one else has come in. It's only been like a minute or so.
Right. So then I'll exit and wait to see if...
You exit, and it seems that the few other people in this mess hall have also left. In fact, there is still food sitting on the table. It hasn't been cleared away.
It's just uneaten food on the table.
Pretty much.
It's very disturbing, so I do a scan of the room.
With your tricorder or?
Visually,
Visually. Nothing's like knocked over. It just looks like people have upped and left. Or they've at least upped and left with purpose to leave their food. You have just had a report that a shuttle's coming in with supplies. So it could be that. But for the most part, you are alone. So if you wanted to look over your tricorder, you could, or you could attempt to kind of slip out of the room if you wanted to do that, or you can sit and wait for Dokar to come back.
I think I will set my tricorder to send the information to Keeman and Roger.
Okay. You begin to do that, and we're going to jump over to our wonderful medical officers. So you've had some information so far that apparently there's some kind of potential mining going to happen on this planet. Does Guy also send this information to Rolstar and Nefreu? Or just our two current engineers?
Oh, sorry.
It's all right.
Just the engineers.
Okay, so Keeman and Roger, you start to receive information coming through from Guy. What are our two medical officers doing? You're still in the med bay, the research area.
Well, it doesn't look like they actually have any chief medicinal officer here, so I think staying here is a bit of a waste of time.
I agree. I think it would take rather a long time to go through controlled experiments to figure out an efficient method of euthanasia. Especially, and I'm sure they can do that themselves. It's not overly hard to kill things.
You didn't try to kill that thing, though.
We tried to kill that thing.
Well, I'm not suggesting you would, ma'am, but it is quite hard to bring yourself to kill it.
Yes, its effect must be powerful. I'd love to see it used in some kind of therapy once we figured out how to sterilize them, obviously.
Yes. I don't suppose looking at the crops, do you think that would do any good?
Well, we can certainly see if it's simply a matter of the Tribbles eating far too much, or whether some sabotage has happened. I think it's worth a look. At least gathering data never hurt anyone.
Well said, well said.
So you're going to go out and have a look at the crops then?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, you make your way out and around the back of this colony complex into they're not massively large. It's not like the size of an actual crop field, but it's enough to keep, would be enough to keep the kind of 12 or so colonists that work here fed well. The crops have been mostly decimated. They look, if you've ever seen like someone's poor garden where they've been growing vegetables and just some kind of pest insect has just been kind of eating away at everything it can reach. Mm-hmm. Kind of looks like this. There's a few wheat-like plants that are just surviving between the heat and having been kind of nibbled at kind of Tribble height. Are you looking for anything in particular, or are you just having a kind of scan round to see if there's anything of interest?
I'm generally just looking to see the main cause of the problem, which is apparently Tribble. So I'm not looking for anything specific, but more just kind of looking to see if there's anything else apart from evidence of eating.
Okay, if you make an insight and science test for me.
Mm-hmm.
This will be difficulty 1, because it's not like you're wading through kind of what would normally be like above head height crops.
My task roll should be on 2.
2,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
2 is always your standard.
I don't have any focuses that could be applied here. 2 successes.
Nice. You've also got some momentum. Yeah, you start wandering through with Rolster, kind of brushing apart the bits of the crops that are still high enough for you to do so. You do start to find Tribbles.
I'm just picking them up and flinging them away from the crops, just like, oh.
There's quite a number of them, especially when you get down to where the crops have mostly been like decimated in kind of clumps and patches, are also accompanied by clumps and patches of Tribbles. What you do notice, and it's very faint, but it looks like somebody at some point in some of the taller crops that are still here has come through, because a few of them are bent sideways at kind of the same height that you might try to clear your way through. The odder thing still is it looks like there is some kind of grain that is left in little places on the floor, which don't coincide with the kind of grain that you're seeing growing.
That doesn't belong here.
Pick it up.
It's almost like rice in terms of its kind of size. It's quite thin, but it's definitely a grain of some kind. It's not the kind that they're growing here.
I want to look like through the aisle of bent stalks to see if I can determine kind of what the trajectory of the person was that was coming through here.
So it actually looks like they were coming, the actual path, if you follow it a bit, leads to the other side of the crop fields where it meets kind of barren wasteland. It looks like somebody has come from the outside in, as opposed to coming from the inside out. And the whole way you can see remnants of this kind of grain and more tribbles.
Freyu, I wonder what types of grain they're growing at the greenhouses next door.
You think sabotage?
Well, this doesn't belong here. And someone came from the outside. It might not be the neighbors. There might be someone else on this planet we don't know about, but there is one other people we do know about.
Very true. And incredibly worrying given diplomatic relations.
Roger.
Yes.
Yeah, Nefreyu and I are going to be headed over to the other base. Glances over at Nefreyu for like a...
Yeah.
If you're quite done there, or as done as you can be, we would appreciate you accompanying us. I'll try to get a hold of Guy also.
Okay. Do you want just me or do you want me and Keeman as well?
Keeman would be useful. Possibly.
If he's feeling like it.
Roger, tell them it's going to take both of us at least 4 hours. Trust me.
It's going to take you 4 hours, but I can go.
No, I need you. You're vital.
I know I am.
Just like calling over Rolster's shoulder, just like, He-Man?
Listen, whatever it is you're doing there, I'm sure the Tribbles are going to munch through it anyway. We found strange grains and a path leading outside of the farmlands out here to the outside, so someone else is coming in to...
Oh, what type of grains did you find?
Small ones. They're whitish, about... is that like a millimeter, you think?
Can I run a tricorder over them while she's speaking? Just kind of like, we should have done this.
You can. I won't make you roll for it. It's a type of grain that you can't really find much on it, but it shares a similarity to something akin to a cross between rice and wheat. So it would be fairly nutritious in that sense, in terms of a nice bulk food. But it's not something that the Federation are currently kind of using at colonies.
I relate all of this in a voice that says that I knew it from the top of this call and did not just basically look it up while we were speaking.
Yes, it's Reet.
Not Weiss.
No, Reet, definitely Reet.
I'm assuming...
Pure facts are, though, Nefreyu and Roster, we're gonna... For it to get this system back operational, we've had some major power damage here somehow. And,
well, I'm not surprised that you haven't finished. I don't know that you can.
Look, I'll do my best, but it would take a normal person at least 4 hours. Look at Roger.
A normal person 4 hours, Keeman 8.
It's amazing what they'll put through the academy these days.
I'm giving it all I've got.
The power situation can wait. We need to deal with the diplomatic situation. I know diplomacy isn't your thing, but...
As you are on this call with your fellow officers, you start getting, both you and Roger start getting information through on your tricorders. that appears to be coming from Guy. And there's lots of bits and pieces. There is a kind of rough layout of the Xenelian base as the tricorder has recorded it. You do also notice that it has picked up strange readings, which, with both of you being experienced with engineering systems and Roger being experienced with, flightcraft and, you understand how a warp engine works. These look like readings for dilithium crystal.
Are you seeing this, Keeman?
Oh yes, would you look at that? I fixed it. I managed to recombobulate the discographator, and it looks like it's working. We better come along with you. Puts two
Shocking.
wires in, flicks the switch on, walks away, doesn't do any quality checking.
I helped.
Roger was instrumental in the fixing of this equipment.
And Roger attempts to wink, but it's like a...
Honestly, shooting star there, one to watch. And then off the thing, sorry.
So, am I right in thinking you all want to make your way over to the Xenelian colony? Okay.
But not too quickly, because you don't want people depending on you. Right, Keeman?
Well, as it happens, we've got another interest over there, Roger, so we're going to head over there double quick. Now, they'll already be quite impressed, because we told them it'd take us 4 hours, and we maybe fixed it in half an hour.
So, does double quick mean just go as quick as a normal quick, or...
You catch on fast, Roger, that's exactly what it means. We head straight on over, but we do stop for a drink first.
So eventually you all meet up again, and you leave towards the Xenelian colony. You're still getting information through from Guy. Most of it is the most interesting bits are the dilithium readings, which suggests that there is some kind of powdered dilithium in the air somewhere. And also the when Guy was stood in front of that medical research lab that Vivek very quickly kind of turned you away from, the tricorder did a little kind of scan of the room. They can figure out distance and size. This lab is about 3 times the size of the one on the Federation colony. That and some of the rooms that you didn't go past, like where the corridors were cut off, look like they would make up a significant part of the Xenelian colony. And it's not that much. It's a little bit bigger, but not that much bigger than the Federation one. When you all arrive, you see it from a while off, the perimeter fence, which goes around this colony site and their fields. Which is odd, the Federation colony does not have one, and there are 2 guards stationed at the entrance to the colony.
I walk right up with my hand out.
You walk up, you put your hand out, and it's probably the first time that you've seen a Xenelian in person. You may have heard chatter over subspace radio about them. They look very much like Andorians, without the antennae, but with still the white hair, the very deep, dark green skin. He puts his hands out and kind of shakes it.
Slightly harder grip with the prosthetic.
I'm sorry, we're not expecting any other... Oh, and you see he has a moment of looking around and realizing the Starfleet Deltas. Are you also part of the Federation representatives?
We are, yes. We had some business to take care of. You have heard of our troubles on the colony, I presume. And we sent our crew member ahead just to make sure you knew we were in the area. We wouldn't want to upset anyone.
Of course. Please follow me this way. He looks very confused, I thought you'd already come, but I guess there's more of you. And he leads you through down a corridor, and you can see that he gets on his version of a communicator to find out the location of Guy. Now, Guy, have you stayed in the mess hall? I think you're muted.
Yes, I have.
You have, okay. They then direct you to this mess hall, where Gaius sat. A couple of people have come in since. It was about 5 or 10 minutes, and then a couple of people returned. What all of you do notice is that walking through, the same thing that Guy notices, which is there are some security patrols. Everyone here seems to be armed, and there must be at least 20 or 30 people within this colony, unlike the Federation's kind of 12 or 13 or so. But you're left here by the guard. He says, Javac Dokar will be back shortly. He is taking in a supply shipment.
May we look at your crops or your medicine facilities? We are medicinal officers. We wanted to see if we could help the effects that the Tribbles have brought on you.
This is the other thing that you notice. You've seen very few of them since you've been walking through these corridors. Whereas
Yes.
the Federation colony is overrun, not so much here. You will have to wait for Javac to return. Until then, you are confined to this room.
Guards don't have power. Interesting. Thank you.
I think once the guard...
He gives you a very... Yeah, he eventually kind of leaves quite cautiously.
once the guard
You are
leaves,
left sitting.
I look at everyone. I was hoping you guys would not come.
That's
Big-
rude.
Right. I'm more rude to possibly get shot and attacked, but...
Are you
Well,
going to shoot us?
no.
I
But then-
believe he is being overcautious. We are, of course, all Starfleet and have all decided to take that risk on our endeavors.
Have you reviewed the data I've sent over?
Yes, I have.
We didn't get it.
Keeman appears with a cup of tea. If we want to leave how he made it as a mystery, we can, but I could also take you through the science of it if you want me to. He, without a replicator, that is. So he appears with this cup of tea and says, yes, it's very interesting. Have they been very open about the data?
Keeman,
No.
share the data. She just holds out her hand for the tricorder, like, share the data.
Dilanium? Is that the word?
Lithium.
Tricorder.
You're just fine. You can take the tricorder if you need to.
And we'll just show
Insufferable person.
Rolster the data. Like,
Yeah, so you see the same thing. The medical facility, or the research facility here, is much bigger than you would expect it to be. And there are traces of dilithium in the air.
and she hands the tricorder back. In a very kind of, see, that's what happens when we share our toys way.
Yeah.
Are there still plates out that with food on it?
Pardon, sorry?
Are there still plates out with food on them?
There's a few, yeah. There's only maybe 1 or 2 people in here who are sitting across the other side of the room, appear to be deep in conversation.
Okay. I want to creep over to them and take some of their food off of their plate and look at it.
I mean, there's probably some food. Like Guy was given some food when he came in here. So
Then I will take some of Guy's food.
it looks like food. There are some grains here.
Is it Weiss? What? No. Reet?
Reet!
Is
Yes.
it Reet?
It is. It looks very similar. It's puffed up a bit more because it looks like it's been boiled the
Puffed
same
Reet!
with rice.
Reet crispy treat!
Some vegetables and virtually no meat.
Slightly relieved.
Well, it looks like we found the source of the Reet and the source of whoever's been walking through the crops.
The crops?
Yes,
We
someone entered from the outside to the crop area of the Federation colony and left a trail of Reet grains. And I was sort of hoping it was just some other colony that had landed here, but it would appear that the source is here. And I don't see any Federation-like grains here. So I can only assume they weren't stealing from the Federation colony, which makes me wonder what they were doing there.
As I deem it unlikely that someone trails uncooked grain behind them for no reason, I think we might have found an answer to how the Tribble problem began. Possibly.
So are you saying it wasn't Sally?
Sally is part of the problem, but she's not the start of the problem.
If that's the case, then this might be sabotage, and we should probably leave immediately.
That's overly cautious, expendable. I think we could stay and investigate for the rewards of the lithium.
Did you not notice the overabundance of guards around?
So, Guy, as you've been sitting here for a while now, while Javatok has been gone, you haven't seen as many guard patrols walking past or through. You imagine there's quite a few of them. As a security officer, having a shipment come in, it's a bit odd that a lot of people here are armed anyway, but having shipments come in on some Federation colonies and some star bases do warrant a large guard, either to ensure that nothing happens to the shipment while it's being unloaded, or because they expect there is something dangerous in the shipment, or just the need for bodies, essentially.
Right. I did ask the ship to scan their incoming supply shuttle. The scan seemed to be blocked for some reason. So.
Did you try turning it off and then on again?
I think you need an engineer to do that, don't you?
They're simply not qualified.
Probably.
I mean, we could try to have a look at the scanners, but, I mean, it won't be a quick job. You know, these things take time and resources.
Only when you do them, human.
The other two people in this room get up, they kind of eye you for a moment, and they leave.
So, I'm going to go check out their crops, if any of you would like to join me. I don't know where they are, so, Guy.
Just in case, I'll attempt to see if I can talk to or get in contact with what was it, Javatok? Was that his name?
Javatok. You've got really no way of getting in contact with him unless you want to find somebody and ask them to contact him.
Yes. Then I'll see if I could find someone and tell them that we will be looking at the crops to see if there's a solution to our issue.
Okay, you go to try and find someone expecting a guard detail to come past. You don't really see anyone in the corridors. You walk back the route that you came in the hopes of finding somebody, and you walk past that corridor that he didn't take you down in front of the medical lab. And they are the only people that you have seen so far. Everyone else, it looks like, has been called to either help with this shipment or is off in another part of the base. It's a possibility that perhaps this was a mealtime that you'd arrived at, and therefore that's why lots of people were walking to and fro. But you can try and get someone's attention in there if you like. Did anyone go with Guy?
I would have.
Yeah. So you're both together, so you can try and get the attention of the researchers if you like. The doors are sealed. You imagine it's like an airlock seal.
Is this to the medical bay?
It looks like it's a mismatch. You can spot some kind of biobed-like things at the far back, but it doesn't look like its primary purpose.
Because I was going to look at their medical bay and see why it was so oddly large.
This is the
so
same
I'd be
place.
with them. Yes,
Yeah.
I'd be with them.
Who's going to try and get the attention of somebody? What are you doing?
Just lift it. lift up one of my metal hands and just knock on the window.
You knock up, and a couple of the Xenelian researchers kind of look over at you, look back at each other. You see one of them steps away from their station and comes towards the door, while others kind of shift round so their back is to you in that window and start moving stuff.
How long have we got before they get to the door?
Maybe 30 seconds.
I don't know if that's enough time. I'm going to, below the level of the window, I'm actually going to put one hand between the fingers of my other hand and basically like crunch down so that two of my prosthetic fingers are just now like almost hanging off.
You do that.
So I'm now like cradling a apparent injury.
A Xenelian woman comes to the door, and whilst most doors to med bays do have some kind of like locking seal, she comes through a double airlock, which is unusual. You normally only get that in isolation chambers. She comes to the door as the airlock doors close behind her, and she stood in the kind of that middle section between both sets and says, "Can I help you? You are the Federation visitors, is that correct?"
And there comes through in my voice, like, that strained tone where someone is like talking through pain and just kind of goes, "I need access to your medical bay urgently." I see what is the problem. She looks down and she can see you kind of like clutching at your hand. Yeah. And she just holds up it is prosthetic, but two of these fingers have now been like bent into a completely unnatural angle. And she just starts twitching, like, my pain processes are rather advanced for Federation science, and I need access to your medical equipment immediately.
She looks over the three of you.
Nefriti starts like leaning back into Rolster a little bit, like, come with me on this.
Please.
She's obviously also medical.
It's quite urgent. We don't have the correct technology to deal with robotic parts.
She gives you a very cautious look. And you can see she kind of looks back through the clear double isolation doors, waits a moment and says, "Of course, come through." She leads the three of you through into this research med bay. It seems that the biobeds and the medical facilities are right at the back of this room. The rest of it is dedicated to research of some kind. And you start making your way through as she leads you back there, and she stops one of the other researchers and says, "Can you call for Shavak Dokar to meet us here? I would hate for anybody to think that this was our doing." And she kind of lets go of the researcher, who kind of nods and disappears out as she takes the three of you towards the back to the medical area.
Can I look at what they've been trying to hide on the tables?
Yes. If you make me a insight and science test for me. If anyone else wants to look, you can do. The two medical officers can do this with insight and medicine.
I'm working on distracting
the
Xenelians who are leading us.
In that case, make me a command presence test.
Okay.
Can I use my composure for this?
How are you using composure in this? Is this like the kind of like calmly looking over as if you're not realizing what's happening in here?
Yeah, so make it look like I'm not trying to overtly figure out what they're doing.
Sure.
One success.
Okay, nice. She is both curious but also cautious about kind of, as she sits you down on some kind of bio bed and starts kind of looking over your hand, starts talking to you about like what, asking about is it clear that it's a prosthetic or?
It's very clear. It's literally like Luke Skywalker's hand before the hand.
Right, okay. She starts asking you about its construction and how much you know about it, so she can try and figure out how to help you.
I'm playing very kind of like short-tempered, in pain, so it's very much just like I need a hypo spray, just like telling her what to do so she doesn't figure out that I don't actually have any nerve endings in my hands.
Okay, you start telling her this and she does start kind of picking stuff up and looking through, so she is distracted. Ross, let's see, Guy, as you're looking across, and have you rolled as well, Rollster? Are you looking
I have not. I was gonna ask if any of the focuses I have would apply here, because I don't know exactly what I'm looking at.
What focuses have you got?
Mutated biology, experimental surgery, exobiology, chemistry, and then linguistics and morality, which I don't think
Mutated biology will apply.
Okay.
So, Guy, you look over and you just catch. You have got determination, remember. You just catch somebody putting away what looks to be some syringes. There appears to be like a couple of them, and you can see that this person opens a drawer and kind of puts them in, and along with some notes, and closes it.
Interesting.
I am going to use my determination.
Okay. Which value are you invoking for that?
Oh, I'm sorry. That would be the medicine, right?
So you
No,
know in your
value.
list of
I'm
values.
sorry.
Yeah, that's all right.
Value. Adaptability is the key to survival.
Yeah,
Can I invoke that? Yeah.
absolutely. And you got a success there. Okay, I'm assuming you're re-rolling that. You can re-roll both dice if you want to.
Oh, can I? I thought it was
Yeah.
just one. Okay. There you go.
Nice,
Okay.
2 successes. So in total, that is, you've got an extra point of momentum. So I think you have 2 at the minute now. Yeah. So Guy, you see them starting to put some of this research away, and Roster, you kind of do the thing that as the Freya is being treated, you kind of do that kind of just wandering around and not quite looking at anything in particular, but you do spot it looks like it's been covered over, but the sheet has slipped. It looks to be a tribble in some kind of containment, and in a metal tray beside that there is a syringe, and a couple of other bits of equipment that look like they're used for giving intravenous medication.
Is the syringe full or empty?
It's currently empty.
Is there any like vials or anything among that equipment?
There's a couple of vials hanging around there, but it's not clear from where you're standing which one may have been used. But it looks like somebody has been in the process of something, and when you've come in, it's just been covered up and the tray's been left.
Can I steal it?
Yes, you can. The tribble or the vials? Or both?
Oh gosh, I guess just. Oh man, I feel like the tribble would be too obvious because it makes noise. So I would just take the vials.
Okay. You go to prepare to take the vials, and I'm going to jump very quickly over to Roger and Kerman. What are you both doing? Because the other 3 have wandered off, leaving you alone in this mess hall. You know about the dilithium in the air. I'm assuming that Guy has told you that there is a couple of rooms and corridors that he wasn't shown down.
Are you thinking what I'm thinking?
Yes, Pinky.
Room to ourselves. Let's drink tea.
Oh, I was thinking of something a little bit harder than tea, but yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
No. We should do some investigation. They might have some rather powerful crystals here, which would greatly help with our investigations. Why don't we see if we can sneak down one of those corridors that the guy was telling us about? On the air.
Yeah, I think that might have been the most like logical thing you've said, like not outrageous thing you've said all day.
Oh no, everything
I'm-
everything I've said is logical. Trust me, Roger. You're young. When you get older, you'll see it's really not worth putting an effort to anything. Come, let's.
So you go to sneak down one of the corridors that Guy has previously kind of mentioned to you. I need you both to make me a daring and security test, and I am going to spend some threat to raise the difficulty from 1 to 2 here. As you see a guard patrol make their way past you, which means it looks like they might be back on patrol.
Oh, yes.
Oh boy, here we go.
Nice.
Do we have?
You can buy extra dice. You've got 2 momentum.
Yeah, I might ask for an extra momentum here.
Okay.
So I'm rubbish at this. How do I add momentum?
You just where it says task roll, if you just click 3 instead of 2 on your character sheet,
Got it.
it ups it that way.
Well, thank God I did.
You did. That's also a complication.
Yes.
So you both sneak down this corridor. You give it a minute or 2 just to see if another guard patrol comes along, and it all appears to be fine. As you get down to the end of the corridor and turn round into the room, you hear the guard patrol behind you. They don't get any closer though. It sounds like they have just stopped and stood guard. So getting back out might not be as easy. But you make it into this room, and inside there is just machinery everywhere. You can see that at the very far end of this room there are what looks to be like hangar bay doors, like large, like garage doors where they come up, doors like that, which presumably lead to outside. And there is a lot of big, heavy-duty machinery here.
Yeah.
The room's quite dusty, like there's dust or sediment in the air that's just, you can just see it starting to settle, but the room's mostly in darkness apart from some light coming through some windows at the far end.
Right, Roger. We're looking for dilithium. Here, let me plug in the information on your datapad, on your tricorder. Scan around, see if you can find any.
Are we being efficient about this or not?
Yes, super efficient. This we care about.
Okay.
And it's off the record, so we're technically breaking the rules, which is always more fun.
So how many quicks am I supposed to be?
This is possibly 4 quicks. We're not going to stop for drinks or anything.
Oh, okay.
If you're both looking for dilithium, could you both make me a either control con or control science test, please? This will be difficulty 2.
Is it difficulty 2 each or difficulty 2 combined?
2 each, because I imagine you're to speed up time, you're both going separate ways. Yeah. So, Kieran, you start searching somewhere, and you don't pick up any. You pick up trace dilithium, but nothing concrete.
Am I looking at like the grappling claw? Like, oh yes, they've definitely used this for something. Whilst Roger's standing in front of like a bucket of.
You're looking at what appears to be some mining equipment. It's got trace dilithium, but nothing. That could just be it's been in the same room as dilithium. Roger, however, you kind of wander between these big bits of machinery, and you come to what looks like a bore drill, like a huge drill that would be used to go down into a planet's surface. And I can see dilithium here. And as you move the scanner in front of this bore drill, your tricorder just lights up. And as you look up, you can see the kind of crystalline dust that is coating this bore drill.
Look at how shiny this is.
Oh!
And then look at how shiny that is.
Oh!
I think I found the thing. Is this what we were looking for?
Yes, hang on 2 seconds and bloop bloop. Nefreyu, Roaster, Guy, I'm about to put the kettle on. Is it a good time?
I'm in the process of stealing something, so I'm not
Yeah.
answering my.
Does anyone answer?
No.
You get no answer.
Damn it, Roger, we're on our own. Just pocket as much as you can.
Yeah, there are some like trace bits of dilithium crystal that have got caught on the board rail that you can take. So jumping back over to the medical research bay, Rolster, I would like you to roll. Try and steal. What are you stealing?
The vials.
Stealing the vials. Okay.
Is there any way I could see what Rolster is attempting to do and make a distraction to assist? I'm not above screaming.
I'm going to say that because you have already successfully distracted her, Rolster's test to steal this will be difficulty 2 instead of difficulty 3.
Every time this alien touches those two fingers, I will scream. So I'm being very distracting.
You start distracting other people in the room as well.
Yeah. Like, give me the hyper spray.
So, did you want to buy any dice?
What is it that I'm rolling?
This will probably be daring and security. Or you can do control and security.
Okay.
You can buy up to 3 dice, spending momentum and threat.
And it's success 2. I will use our 1 momentum to buy a dice. We have 1 left, right?
There's 1 left, yeah. And then you can spend threat if you want to buy extra.
Maybe if I decide to steal the Tribble, but right now I'm okay with that.
Okay.
Okay.
You're spending that momentum.
All right.
So you roll 3 dice for me.
Bam.
Yeah. You take the moment as that people are looking at Nefreo screaming as the Senelian woman is kind of like trying to figure out where she puts a hypo spray. And you just kind of reach out and pocket the vial closest to you.
Unfortunately, because I succeeded, I feel like I have to save the Tribble.
Can I notice her stealing the vials?
I will say that you probably will. You'll spot at least that she's put something in her pocket, not necessarily what.
Then, as soon as she does, I'll walk up next to her and say, "Needles in drawer and notes on my mark." Then I'd see if I can find something breakable and accidentally knock it over.
There's a Tribble case that's made of glass right there.
Needles and notes in the drawer.
Okay, so what are you doing?
I'm trying to create a distraction so that Rolsta can try and
Okay.
deal with the needles and notes.
If you want to give me 2 points of threat, I will let you create a distraction. That means that Rolster can save the Tribble, take the Tribble, and slip it to the door.
We don't need another one. We've got plenty.
I'm down with it. I have all it can save should be saved. It's one of my values, so I want to save it. It's been
Okay.
experimented on. Mutative biology
You
is
literally
bag.
almost gave one an acid bath. You were gonna dip it in the lye.
yeah, but they were killing everyone else. Now that I know that it's been introduced by someone, we can take it back.
So,
Your ethics are peculiar.
I will take 2 points of threat then. And Guy, you knock over this, it looks like a large burette that's, there's an experiment happening with some liquids. And as Nefero screams, you kind of like jump and back into it. And the whole thing, it's all orchestrated, but it shatters. There's this liquid on the floor. Steam starts to rise as it starts to eat away at something. And Rolster, you take the moment to lift the jar with the sheet, scoop the Tribble, and at the same time, as you kind of try to back away as far from the kind of toxic fumes that are beginning to you can begin to smell them, you manage to get into the drawer and grab one of the syringes as well. At which point, the Xenelian woman who is treating you, Nefero, sees this go off and just goes, "Out, everybody out now, quickly," as people begin to file out, as you can smell this horrible gas that the room is starting to fill with.
I will grab the hypo spray from her and literally just return to inject myself and be like, there! This doesn't have no! And just walk out like, why did
Okay.
you inject it in the metal?
There is now a commotion in this corridor as researchers are pouring out, the room's being sealed off. Some guards have shown up. And I will say, actually, Cohen and Roger, the guards that were guarding the corridor that you guys went down have probably also gone towards this.
I lean into Rolster again and hold up my hand, just like, we're gonna play on this.
Where would you guys like to go next?
I would be trying to nudge us back towards the mess hall because that's where we're supposed to be.
Okay.
So we can always claim that we just went to get medical attention and came right back.
Is this the same for you, Kermit and Roger? Are you making your way towards the mess hall now?
There's some guards outside.
Not anymore. They left.
Did they leave?
Yeah.
They went for the commotion.
Oh, good.
Towards the labs.
So we don't have to do the run screaming it's going to blow malarkey. That's good. Yes, let's head back to the mess hall.
So you make your way back to the mess hall. You both arrive at roughly the same time, and maybe 2 minutes later, Shavat Dakar arrives and says, I do apologize. It looks like there has been a containment breach in our medical facility. I'm going to have to ask you to leave. For your own safety, that is. I would hate for anything to happen to Federation delegates. He seems to have no hint that he knows that you've been involved in any of this.
Yeah, Nefreyu is now hiding her hand behind her back. Like, you know, in that I'm standing like Spock posture.
Yes.
And it's just covering those two fingers with her other hand, like, I see. Well, we don't want to cause you any further trouble. If you'd have someone show us the way out, I'm sure we can come back at a better time.
Yes, I
Continue
studied chemistry. It's quite volatile sometimes. Good luck with that and the Tribbles. We will come back.
So we'll time jump very quickly here because I know we're running towards the end of the session. But you get back to the Federation base. You know now for sure that the grain has come from the Xenelian colony. I can make you roll for this, or if you guys are happy for me to epilogue your findings and your conclusion.
I'm happy enough, I think.
I'm good. At some point I will shove my hand in Keeman's face to make him fix my hand. But
Keeman tells you that it'll take about 4 hours to fix and does it in about 20 minutes. Is what I'm imagining.
Yep, you've got my trope, 100%. Yeah.
So,
Worked with me before.
Rosta and Nefreyu, you go back and you investigate the vials and the syringes that you found. But you start with a Tribble. This Tribble is not pregnant. And in fact, every other Tribble you've come across has been. And when you look at the vial, it's very clear after maybe a day or so's research that they have been sterilizing Tribbles.
I will, after we make this
synthesize
discovery,
it.
I will offer it to Nefreyu and say, I believe this is exactly what you were looking for.
It will do a great deal of good, so long as we can keep it fed. And we'll start synthesizing the sterilization stuff so that we can actually use it widespread.
Guy, you managed to go through the rest of the data from the tricorder that was being recorded. And you didn't notice at the time because it was recording everything, so there wasn't time to kind of shuffle through what was important, what wasn't. But you found that one of the doors that you went past was a storage room that was full of hundreds of tiny live life forms.
Oh my.
All of which appear to have been, you can tell from kind of the readout and how the density of them are, packed in boxes. It looks like they were storing Tribbles.
Guy would send his all the data and his findings to headquarters to see how they would like to proceed.
You send that all over to Starfleet Command.
Yes.
Roger, you eventually managed to take everybody back up to the ship safely. A good flight. I imagine that you spend some time in shuttle bay, kind of buffing out the few dents in your shuttle. And Keeman, you manage to finish repairing everything down on the base. You get it all back up and running. You help inoculate all of these tribbles. And when you get back onto the ship, you manage to scan the shuttle that is leaving Xenelian colony. And it appears that it was carrying life forms. And Starfleet Command deduces that what actually has happened here is that there was definitely a presence of dilithium crystal on the planet. Perhaps the Xenelians came across it first and wished to keep such a wealthy resource to themselves. And it looks like they tried to sabotage the longevity of the Federation colony in order for them to not share the dilithium that would have been found on the planet that they shared. And through your simple aid to this Federation colony removing tribbles, you uncovered a huge conspiracy within the Xenelian government for Starfleet, which has gone further in taking action to protect other colonies within this system.
And REIT is now readily available in Federation supermarkets.
Yes, it is.
as are, like, you know, service tribbles.
Yeah,
I
really
imagine
companion tribbles.
I imagine that Nefreu takes a few back,
Yeah.
and starts using them as part of her counselling.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that becomes you start that first kind of tribble therapy.
Yeah.
The Federation.
Tribble therapy now. Mental health is one of my focuses. So.
Rolsta will just like sort of slip one into like the console of every ship that Roger is going to fly, just so that, you know, there's an emergency Tribble stash whenever he starts getting nervous.
Break in case of anxiety and just
You know, as much anxiety as Roger has, he does very well under pressure.
I think
Just like to point this out.
But yeah, that is it. You discovered this terrible conspiracy going on to all over some dilithium crystals, which Keenan definitely comes away with a pocket full that he doesn't tell anybody about from that room.
Oh, yeah.
and I think
Nefreu also like totally has her own like pet tribble, which she occasionally just walks up behind Keeman and just puts like on the back of his head, like, please just calm down.
Would you
Nice
get
feelings.
off?
Good feelings.
Go! I'm
Don't
picturing
be
like
scared of your emotions.
highly sensitive equipment. No time for.
I'm picturing it being like the slice of cheese challenge where they're just like
But I hope you all enjoyed that. I was going to get you guys to roll at the end to figure all of that out, but I know we're a bit short on time because
No, that was
shots and there's other awesome people that need to run games and play in games. So.
that was absolutely awesome. And don't worry, I'm running the next one, so I'm super flexible with times. It's all good. Because as you can all imagine, I've prepared absolutely nothing. It'll be great. Let's go round. We are over time, so let's go round and just very quickly say who we are and where we can find each other online, and then we'll go and get the next group in. Let's start with none other than our wonderful DM and game master, Virginia at Tabletop Hoard. Oh, hi.
Hi. So you can find me on the internet at Tabletop Hoard. I mostly use Twitter. It's the best place to find me, where you can see any updates on awesome stuff that I get to do. I also work for Modifius Entertainment, which are the people that make Star Trek Adventures. So I regularly post about stuff that I'm working on as well there. Other than that, you can find me if anyone wants to see some more awesome gaming, and it's not on this stream, which you should certainly stay here because it's really cool, but at about 4 p.m. UK time, I don't know what that is stateside, I will be over on RPG Webby's channel, helping him playtest his spy game, which is a 5e game based around kind of modern day espionage and spies, and we're rolling up some new characters, I think, so that should be really fun. I just want to say thank you again for having me back at the Academy, Scrat. I absolutely love running on here, and I hope everyone has enjoyed the game, all of you wonderful players, and chat as well. If you have, please send me a tweet, tell me what your favorite moments were, and let me know. I love seeing stuff like that and seeing that people have enjoyed the session. But otherwise, thank you so much. Wonderful, wonderful people.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure to have you. You always tell the best stories, and I love it. Let's move quickly on there. Let's go on to Wild Engineer.
Yes, Wild Engineer on Twitch and Twitter. So you can find me here on Scratch starting Monday, I believe, with Sam DMing. And also on Tuesday for some wild races, I believe. And real quick, because how well this went, Guy would assume that he definitely needs to take more risks now.
Yes.
Valid. Next round, we have Shakespeare.
Hello, I am Shakespeare. You can find me on Twitter at Shakespeare. I play in a Tuesday game on Penflower Inc.'s Twitch channel. Do check it out, it's amazing. His art is just phenomenal. I'm so happy to get to be a part of the story. I will also be playing in the Monsters Only game on Scratticus Academy, so you should all check that out. I'm very excited about it. It's going to be so much fun. Anything else I'm in, it usually comes up on my Twitter, so follow me there. This was so good. I really like it. I don't know why in most of the games I play, I end up injuring myself for effect, but that was so good. I love triples. And now I have emotional support triples for everyone. I'm so happy.
I mean, it seems like your go-to, to be honest. No one asked you to hurt yourself. You just dove straight in.
Just every game, it's like breaking fingers, stabbing self, pulling teeth out. It's a thing. I don't know why.
Oh, on that bombshell. Next round, we have Smallish Sam.
Hi. You can find me on Twitter, Smallish Sam. I will be running a Pulp Cthulhu game here on Mondays. And you can find me on Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Other Doc's channel. This month I will be playing in Robot Hamlet versus Robot Richard III. I will be playing the great Shakespearean character of Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Fantastic, of course. And Sam will be kicking off our season next week. So in around, what time is it now? 8. So in around 18 hours, we'll be starting the new season 3, with Sammy's campaign. It's going to be amazing. I'm really looking forward to it. Wild Engineer's in there as well. It's going to be fantastic. Last but most certainly not least, Holly, Sagephilia.
Hello. You can find me on Twitter at Sagephilia. I'm also on here sometimes. I'm going to be on here more often. On Tuesdays, I'm going to be in a Call of Cthulhu game run by Alice, I believe at 7:30. And then on Thursdays, I will be running a game of 5e, which is 10:30. And for those of you in chat that are not part of the Scratticus Academy, we are having rotating new players in for my D&D I'm DMing, so please drop him a DM and let him know you're interested in playing with me and him.
We cannot wait to have you. We've still got plenty of spaces. There's even still some spaces in April, I think, for some of the games. I'm not sure exactly which ones, but some of them are full all the way to June. Some of them are still got spaces. So send me a DM and I'll get you a game. As for me, Virginia, that was absolutely amazing. I absolutely love this system. I've played Conan, I've played John Carter, and I like them both, but this was just somehow better. Being able to geek out with science just makes it. It was amazing. Unfortunately, we do need to wrap very quickly. So thank you very much, everyone, for your donations and your support. We will be back in around probably 20-25 minutes. I'm going to give myself a little bit of time to restart the OBS because I don't know if you can see how much my camera has slowed down, but it's gone real bad. So I'm going to restart OBS and all that sort of stuff, but we will be back very, very shortly. Thank you very, very much, everyone. We will catch you in a little while. See you later. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, OBS is struggling. Come on, transition.